August 13th, 2020 meeting of the Town of Southampton Planning Board. In accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1 and until further notice, all of the board's meetings will be held remotely via video conference, so we ask the public to continually check the town's website for updates and new information. Please join for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and
and justice
for all.
Thank you. The full agenda is posted on the town's website for today's meeting. The town's planning staff, as well as the applicants and their representatives, will be participating via Zoom, which is being moderated by CTV and Charles Certain, who will be muting and holding speakers in a virtual waiting room until it's their time to appear before the board. A reminder that applicants and their agents should state their name and address for the record. As is typical, there are no public comments during the daytime meetings. The link to participate in this meeting via Zoom can be found on the town's website. This meeting is also being live streamed on the town's website on the town clerk's meeting portal. Board members who must recuse themselves from any application will state so on the record and will be removed from the meeting until the end of the discussion and vote on the application. Finally, in accordance with the governor's order, this meeting will be recorded and transcribed at a later date and will be made available to the public. And we have a roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, ma'am. Chair LaFaro.
Present.
Vice Chair Finnerty.
Present.
Secretary is here. Board Member Burke.
Present.
Board Member Zuccarelli.
Present.
Board Member Long.
Present.
Board Member Blaney. Unfortunately, I see you're muted. Are you there?
We'll have to count it as an absence until he gets back on, Phil.
All right. So we have 6 for the moment.
6, 1 absent, or 1 technical difficulty. Any minutes to approve?
Yes, we do. We have the minutes of June 25.
June 25, motion to approve the minutes. Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. So we're moving now onto the agenda. The first item is off. That was going to be a work session, number 1. So we'll go right into number 2, Cap'n LLC, and that's your application.
Yep. Let me get to the screen here. Okay, so whoop, there it is. So we have a 2-lot subdivision. This is on Vale Avenue in East Quogue, just south of Old Country Road there. It's in the R20 zoning district, and they are putting together 2 lots. This is the map here. It's a different configuration, but here's Vale down here, 2 lots, a flag to the back. Actually, this map is different than the one that we're going to have for the hearing. This shows a 20-foot wide flag strip. They actually got relief from the zoning board for a 16-foot wide flag strip. So that's the map actually that we're going to use. I just wanted to explain that. But this is a completeness review. Existing residents will be removed, all the existing structures. The application was previously deemed incomplete. It's now complete, and I'm recommending that we schedule the hearing for September 10th, I believe.
Okay, any questions on this? Motion?
Motion.
By Dennis, second by Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Blaney, have you gotten back? Not yet, okay. So number 3 is Setauket Coves Estate also. Anthony, that's you?
Yep.
Are you screen sharing? It's not coming up. Anthony?
He's frozen.
He's frozen? I don't even see him.
Yeah.
Right.
Some help from somebody in the planning department. There we go.
Okay, if we don't have Anthony, I could share it.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go back a tiny bit, but
Number 3, Claire.
yeah. So looks like that's root of
Seatuck
it.
Cove Estates.
I think it's
That's
like in
Cuccio.
the teens.
Yeah, I think this is it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So this was a completeness for a 4-lot subdivision.
Yeah, he's recommending completeness and asking for a hearing for September 10th at 6 p.m. So it looks like everything they need. Submitted the additional information. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So do we have a motion to approve? the
Motion.
consent?
Just one second. Let me stop sharing.
Second.
I'm sorry. Who moved it? Phil? Second by Zuccarelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention? 6 in favor, 1 absent. Okay.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Now we can. We
I'm
already
sorry,
did your work.
I'm sorry, I could see and hear everything, but it's kicking me out for some reason, so I apologize.
Oh,
Do
it
you-
happens.
Want me to, oh, Jackie's next anyways, but I could
Yeah.
share, Anthony, maybe you could just describe if you want.
Yeah, but I think I'm okay, we'll see.
Okay. If not, Claire can pick up for you. Brudovic?
Yep, Brudovic.
Jackie?
Yep, Brudovic plots. This is on for
Yep.
completeness. Let me just share the screen. Are you guys able to see this?
Now we are. Right.
Yep.
Now
Okay,
it's
so
on. There we are.
this is a 3-lot subdivision with 3 lots at the property at 44 Argonne Road East. This is in the hamlet of Hampton Bays. It's in the R20 zoning district. As you can see in the resolution here, it got relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals for lot width. And they are a type 2 action, so no further secret review is required. Although at this point they do not have, they're also, they found that there was a historic lot line modification between this lot and the neighbor to the west. And they have to show that on the plan, and they also are lacking health department approval. Here's the map, here's the aerial. So it's gonna be 2 lots in the front, 1 lot here, 1 lot there with this as a flag lot, and I'll show you the map. But I am recommending that it be deemed incomplete until they get health department approval as required by code.
That aerial looks, is that a lot line down the middle? It's kind of hard to, it's just 2 lots, right?
This is the one big parcel highlighted in red.
Right.
And so there's gonna be 2 lots, 1 with the existing house, 1 with just these driveways, which are gonna be removed, and then a flag lot in the rear, which actually has 2
gotcha.
existing structures.
Okay.
So you can see these 2 existing structures. 1 is gonna be converted. One is actually a cottage, and the other one is like a small garage, apartment, etc. So one of these are gonna be, made conforming and, not used any longer as a residential unit. And so then they'll have 1 new house here and then modify these structures accordingly.
It looks like 4 boats in the back, maybe 5.
Yeah,
Huh. They're not boat sales there, are they?
no, I don't believe so.
Just a guy who loves boats.
I'll ask about the boats, but I don't believe so.
Hmm.
Is there any
Okay.
other questions? Oh, and this is the lot where the lot line modification transpired. So this lot used to be big, and so the rear of the lot was actually given. So they're going to show that on the updated map when we deem it complete.
So it's incomplete now.
Correct.
Okay. Can I have a motion to deem this incomplete? Dennis? Motion by Dennis, second by Zuccarelli. All in favor? Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor. Blaney, you coming through? No. one absent, technically.
Thank you.
Number 5, Anthony, it's you,
Yeah.
Stephen D'Angelo.
Yep. All right, so this is property on North Sea Road. Here's Mary's Lane, so it's at the intersection right there. This is the property. There's an existing one-story building in the front. It's zone Hamlet commercial. There's parking in the back, and there's some activity going on back here that I'm not sure what's going on. The application is, this building is going to be a hardware store, my understanding is, which is a permitted use in the Hamlet zoning district. The application is for a 1,680 square foot storage building in the back. Behind the property is an area of wetlands. They're showing 50 feet from the wetlands. This is a pre-submission conference request, which we will identify all issues. So the application is for the storage building, and they're just showing it's going to be a Morton building at this point, basic details. And we have what we need for a pre-submission conference, so I was going to recommend that we hold it on September 10th.
Anthony, are they deficient on that wetland setback?
What was that?
Are they deficient on the wetland setback?
Yes, I think 50 feet. I think an improved property, I don't remember. I think the required setback is 100 feet.
Okay.
And the existing building on the property would be the hardware store.
That's correct.
That's across the street from Leo's Electric, I think.
No, it's Joe's Garage. It's just.
Oh, it's Joe's Garage.
Joe's
Yeah.
Garage is on the other corner.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep,
Any other
I see it.
questions? Any other questions?
So what are we going to do about the deficiency?
Well, we'll address it obviously in the pre-submission conference.
When we do that report.
Yeah, it'll come out
So a motion here for
September 10th for a pre-submission conference.
Brian and second by Robin, all in favor. Opposed, extension, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Claire, you're number 6, the Sag Harbor Antique Fire Truck Museum.
Yep. So we had a meeting, at the last meeting, there was a discussion on the special exception standards and the question about whether just the use of the storage building is a museum use. So I referred the application to the chief building inspector, the current chief building inspector, and in writing, he stated just the use as storage is not a museum use. So it would not be the definition of a museum, and thereby the special exception standards would apply. I'm recommending, because uses or anything that's non-conforming, like a setback, we would deem this site plan application incomplete. So I'm recommending that we do that while the applicant either amends their application or, withdraws the application and goes another way on this. I think you've given them some feedback. I updated the report and I got some comments from Jackie and Dennis, which I can incorporate on the next version. Obviously, the board had a lot of questions last time, and the applicant has chosen not to come today. So I indicated that it would be deemed incomplete on the application. Anything you want me to add to it?
I think.
Okay, I'm just going to simply be a simple resolution which you can adopt today that says that the chief building inspector states it's not a permitted use, and therefore it's deemed incomplete.
Okay. Any other comments? Motion
You
to
haven't
deem-
had any feedback from them about this opinion?
Not yet. No, they got it. And fairly, you got it yesterday. They got it
Right.
yesterday. So they've asked, they wanted it, they understood incomplete just holds off the timelines and then gives them a chance to think about it and come back. If they need to, they can come back and talk to you. So about the application.
They can also appeal the
Determination.
Zoning Board of Appeals.
Correct. They can appeal the determination with the chief building inspector. That is another option for them. Okay.
Okay, motion to deem it incomplete.
Motion.
Motion by, sorry.
Phil.
Second by Dennis. All in favor?
All right, Dennis.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Matthew, you are 76 Montauk Highway.
I think we just lost Dennis
But we just lost Matthew.
and Dennis.
Matthew, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, 76 Montauk Highway. The board's seen this a number of times before. Originally, it came in as a ZBA referral. This is the expansion to a seasonal produce store in West Hampton. It's, essentially a farm stand up on the corner here. It's got a CO as a seasonal produce store. They got a variance to expand. They went through pre-submission. And in terms of the site plan application, they're just missing a couple, some stuff that we asked for in the pre-submission conference report. And they're also deficient in terms of their engineering approval to deem it complete for his review. So I'm recommending we deem this incomplete for the things listed on this checklist.
Thank you for including it.
No problem.
Okay, motion to deem this incomplete
Motion.
by Robin, second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor and 1 absent. Okay, now 8 and 9. Anthony, are you there?
Yep, I have Robert Merrihew is here for both of them. They're both subdivisions on Priscilla Avenue in Flanders. We did pre-app reports on both of them. Let me just show you. This one here is 91 Priscilla Avenue. There was a house on this property on this side. It had been 2 lots at one point. And they're coming in to recreate, the 2 lots here, very similar to the pattern that you see in the neighborhood. The property is in the archaeological sensitive area. So we have required that they do the archaeological report. And the applicant's representative was here to discuss that with the board on this one and the next one. Should I show you the next aerial just so you could take a look?
Yes, please.
Anthony,
So this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm confused. What specific application? It's
These were added, Gloria, and I have the same issue. Number 8, it's new, number 8 and 9.
Oh, they were on the final agenda, sorry.
Yeah, and not on the earlier one.
That's
yeah,
right.
and I print the earlier one. That's what I work off of.
Yeah, I know. This is the only change, Gloria.
Thank you.
So the
And
J,
this is, yep, and
AS
this,
and becomes number 10.
yep. And then this is one at 148. Again, it'll be a 2-lot subdivision, I believe, down the middle. Also requires relief, also in the archaeological sensitive area. So we required for the pre-app reports on both of these, the archaeological report, and the applicant's representative is here to talk to the board about that.
So let me just ask a question, Anthony.
Sure.
Are there portions of these parcels that are undisturbed that have not?
On this one here, right down the middle is where it's going to go. The house was sitting on this side, so this lot was vacant as far as I could tell. And then on this one, again, it's existing house in the front here, and then I believe the lot was supposed to be going to be a flag lot in the back, but there's wetlands back here, so I believe the new lot would be a split down the middle, and there's nothing going on over here, so. It's in the archaeological sensitive area, both of these properties, and the requirement is that we require it, but the applicant's representative, requested that he be able to discuss it with the board.
And who is that?
Robert Merrihew.
And there he is,
Good afternoon to the board. I hope everyone's well.
so far.
So on 91 Priscilla, if you look back at the GIS pictures, the house that was there was actually in the middle. And when I refer to these lots, I'm going to refer to them as our reading right. So we're all on the same side when we're describing it. And that house was in the middle, basically, and it had, apparently they had bought 2 lots and plopped a house down there before the code, right in the middle. And that house burned down, and when that was in foreclosure, and my client bought it, and I submitted the demo permit. And so when they demoed the house in the basement, in preparation of eventually building on it, they cleared out all the stumps and trees, and you can see that's heavily disturbed. It's just, grass growing there now. This picture on the GIS must have been taken just after the demolition had taken place. And so since this has been so gravely disturbed, I'm asking for relief from that archaeological sensitive area, having the cost allocated to trying to subdivide this, because really this neighborhood is one of the only neighborhoods in the town of Southampton where there's actual housing that, normal working folk can afford.
Well, just tree clearing doesn't necessarily mean that the subsurface has been disturbed.
Well, the trees were taken out with a backhoe that took the stumps right out as well. So you can imagine they had to go pretty deep. And plus the house and the basement were there.
But when they did that clearing, nobody checked what they were clearing to see if there was any evidence. So the clearing in and of itself doesn't answer the question.
But maybe history does. Is there any history of there being any archaeological significance to any lots or in this neighborhood?
I'm unaware if there ever were.
But it is in the archaeological sensitive overlay district, so that's our guidance.
I would need something that would.
Do you have any documentation when it was cleared about when that was done and how they did it? Other than them telling you?
Well, I saw it because I was the attorney who submitted the demo permit, and I was the attorney who represented. I represent that organization, the applicant, and I was there when they were actually tearing it down because I was coming back from court, and I just wanted to see the machine doing it. And so, he was there with that big machine, digging up the tree stumps, and then just taking the whole house and bulldozing it into the basement, and they were picking it up and dropping it into the back of the trucks. I mean, it was done with the benefit of demolition permit, and there was a.
And the 148 Priscilla, looks like there's some pristine land on that would require.
Well, if you look at the back, if you look at the GIS pictures, which I reviewed before this meeting today, you can see that whole back area had been essentially cleared to sand going back prior to even 1984. And as an aside, I graduated high school from Hampton Bays in 1984, and I'm curious why the GIS in 1984 goes black and white. It makes me feel very, very ancient. And so this house exists here on the left prior to the code, and there was an in-ground pool on the right side of this that was put in with the benefit of a permit in 2005. That was demoed with the permit roughly 2 years ago and backfilled in. And so that area was disturbed. We have the house that's been there prior to the code. And if you look at the pictures in the past, the back portion of that property is much more vegetated now than it had in, I think, in any previous period, at least according to the pictures that are on the GIS, the aerials.
And Anthony, did you say it was near wetlands?
I believe there's a pocket of wetlands over here.
I have a process question. We're discussing putting a new house, so we have to worry about potentially archaeological things. Shouldn't that have been questioned when a demolition permit was made?
That's not for me to answer.
No.
It's not. It was not really. That's why I said it's a process question. It's not.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's more, no, it's more from. I'm still relatively new, so it's more from a planning.
At this time, there's no code requirement. Building permit, which is a demo permit, is just administrative. There would be no process prior to. I mean, the code could change and you could require that, which is why it is important for the board to kind of look at this at this stage, a subdivision stage.
Right.
If there's
The question that I have is, we have this as an archaeologically sensitive area.
right.
The burden shouldn't be on us to change that or waive that without evidence that there is a reason to waive it. I don't think the disturbance of it is sufficient if it's never been checked. If there's been a failure to check it in the past, I don't know if the disturbance is sufficient for us to waive it. What process-wise, how much disturbance, how deep the disturbance.
Right, we don't know that.
We don't know that. And so I'm being asked to waive it with knowledge that there's been some type of topographical changes, but I don't know how effective that is.
And I mean, just, Robert, just as an aside, you know, farm fields that are plowed and planted are prime areas for finding the archaeological artifacts. So I would say we should just stick to our process. I don't know how others feel.
I'd support that.
I agree.
I don't think it should be done. It's not necessary. The area has not shown anything on the previous houses, and it's a costly thing, and it's quite apparent that's been disturbed several times. And if they were concerned, they would have required it at that time on the demolition, which I guess they could have.
Well,
No, they couldn't have.
Process.
They couldn't have.
They couldn't?
No.
Not part of the process. That's what Claire just explained. That was my question.
This is the only opportunity to do that. And you don't know what was found on the other sites.
Yeah, do we know, do we have any proof, John, where?
Well, my point is what Dennis says. You don't know what was found on the other sites.
Right.
So in other words, when something is found on the sites, where does it go and who holds this? Is it a museum? Is it given to, in other words, if there is something found, how could we go to that building or society and ask them what was found on this? It doesn't seem.
If there was something found on those other projects, it probably went in the pickup truck of the excavator.
No, but my question is, I'm talking about the whole area, Dennis.
There was no formal.
About the
My
whole
point is, there was no formal review of the other sites because there's no mechanism to do research, archaeological evaluations on individual homes. The only opportunity is when we create house lots.
But my point is, if something were found, where would it go? In other words, who maintains the artifacts found in archaeological areas?
Well, if it's human remains, they have to go to the Suffolk County coroner. If it's any type of if it's any type of pottery or evidence of pre-contact, I believe the town.
The Historical Society and the Preservation does a review. Yeah,
Well, I think before we take a vote, then.
but that's not our job. We have.
No, I didn't say us. You didn't listen. I said the applicant should seek out those organizations and ask them, in this area, has anything been found? It's as simple as that in my mind.
Well, if the board is agreeable to that, I would gladly agree. And if you could table it and put me on the agenda for the next meeting.
And what would you do? How would you go about this?
Well, what I did yesterday was I reached out to 2 different people from the Shinnecock Nation, and I had a lovely conversation with one of them who's involved in these types of research. And she gave me a number of places to look. And I also have some other resources that I would consult. So, and if you let me do this, then I can share with the board prior to our next meeting, which I assume will be a Zoom meeting, so that we can make perhaps a more educated decision.
But the issue with that is that it's not verifiable. You know, it's you telling us.
No, I'm going to give you.
Your,
I'll provide documentation. I'll provide documentation to you. I mean, everything I've told you today is plainly on the GIS. So, I mean, while I'm just speaking as an officer of the court and I'm not allowed to lie, I will come back to you with, documentary evidence of whether there is things that have been found there that are of historical significance or cultural significance.
So you are going to do an archaeological review.
Yeah, that's
what we're asking.
That's basically what we're discussing is an archaeological study.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
done by a certified archaeological company.
Yes, that's what we're trying to avoid the expense of. So I was taking up Mr. Zuccarelli's suggestion that we would investigate through places that may have a repository already of things that may or may not have been found in that neighborhood. That does not please the board?
It doesn't please me. I don't know.
He's willing to try to find evidence that this area in some way had archaeological Now,
John,
wait, you're deciding on that because you say we have none. If he comes back and says none were found or they found some, then we can make a decision, but at least let it present it.
but this property is in the archaeologically sensitive area. That's been defined by New York State.
I
We
understand.
can't change that. We can't go around that, and we can't argue with that.
Understand, it doesn't guarantee
Property
that
that
there
he's
are
not,
archaeological items there. It just says there's a possibility, and in that case, we would like to look. And I'm saying that area has been developed over a period of time that maybe there are or aren't. It would be costly for him to spend money on something to find out that something is not there.
well, he's
John,
gonna
every
spend time.
applicant has to assume that cost when they're in this overlay district. That's the function of this district. And with all due respect to Bob, he's excellent counsel, but he's not an archaeologist.
Right.
We're not.
But I am. I'm just teasing.
But he is going to.
Okay, so listen, this can go on for some
Dennis
time.
said that historical societies and other societies would have the items. And I'm asking the applicant to go to those places and tell us that things have been, well, obviously you tell us it's not found, but often found. That's my position. Take a vote.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna call for a vote.
Take a vote.
So let's vote on both. Do you want separate votes, Anthony, for each one?
It really doesn't matter because it's really just a discussion. It's not a formal, because our pre-app report says do it. So I don't think you need to really.
So we don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to poll the board in the sense that.
Yeah, I think.
Glorian.
I think even if they didn't find anything next door, there's no guarantee that they won't find something on these properties. And it's in the overlay district, so I think it has to be done.
Well, I think
Robin?
I
basically,
agree. It's in the overlay district. I cannot go against what the state has found without finding.
Right.
So I
Dennis?
agree.
the state hasn't found anything.
Dennis? We don't know.
I did my mother's estate map 15 years ago, 3 lots, downtown Hampton Bays. I had to do the study too. Nothing.
Right. Phil?
We're talking about this area, Dennis.
Phil?
I agree with John. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. Well, I do. So that's polling the board. It's 4-2 here.
Well, let's,
And
I mean,
so I think you need to do it. Okay.
Well, we appreciate the board's time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming and discussing it with
Thanks,
us.
Rob.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So there's
Thank you.
no action on that, Anthony.
Do we have to adopt the report?
stands as it is, right?
Did we adopt the report?
We got the pre-app. We did, and it says.
Nobody did, and we had required it. So he was trying to modify that. We're not modifying it. So moving on to JGF. Anthony, that's you, number 10.
All right. Okay. So JGF, this is a property in Eastport in the R20 zoning district. It's off of Old Country Road. The application is for a 3-lot subdivision. There's a 4-lot yield. It's a reduced density subdivision. I'll just show you. Oops. A little different configuration here, but here's Old Country Road. They're showing 3 lots, 1, 2, 3, with a common driveway serving all 3 lots.
Is that open space on the point?
Over here, no, it's just this shows the lot width. This is where the lot width is being measured from. So this is just part of the property. So that's all. This is the property. It's an oversized. They're all oversized lots. They're all over an acre in size. It's R20 zoning. My guess is that this is a health department issue. That's probably why they reduced it down to 3 lots. So we looked at this. We had the hearing. We did the referrals. So I have a pre-app report here for the planning board that I sent everybody. Let me just go to the top.
Is there preference, by the way, the reduced plan?
The reduced density plan is good. That's always, a good thing, especially in these oddly shaped properties like that. It can be difficult to sort of jam in these housing lots. So I think the 3-lot is fine. So there I gave a description of the project and the property. It's surrounded by mostly residential development. Just to go back to the aerial, actually, you can't see it on here, so I'll show another map when we get to the Trails Advisory Board. The project complies with zoning. With respect to the 1.5 times the lot size for the flag lots, this project also complies with that standard. So they are 1.5 times the minimum lot size, excluding the flag strip. A standard versus a PRD plan, the applicant is proposing a standard plan. And I do say in the report here, as discussed in further detail, and I'll get to it in just a little bit, there is an opportunity potentially for a trail corridor through the property. So that may be a cluster subdivision with 25% open space would be an option. So there would be a place to locate a potential trail in the future. But that we could have that discussion with the applicant and the board. This is a type 2 action. It's not in any overlay districts. It is in the medium priority water quality improvement zone, not the high priority. But it's still a type 2 action under SECRA. It's not subject to the Long Island Workforce Housing Act. In terms of conformance with the comprehensive plan, there's nothing specific in the comprehensive plan pertaining to this property. So it's consistent in terms of density and land use. The only thing is, and we'll get to it shortly, is the Trails Advisory Board is recommending, like I said, the trail corridor. You know, there is that long-range planning goal that the planning board will discuss as it pertains to this project. The park requirement would be by way of a fee. If the board wanted to go in that direction, which right now is just under $5,000 per lot. In the alternative, which I state in the report, the planning board may satisfy, or the park requirement may be satisfied with land dedicated for the trail connection, which you've done in the past. So in lieu of the fee, which is just under $15,000 for all 3 lots, the land set aside for the trail would satisfy that requirement. We had a public hearing on June 11th, and it was closed with 30-day written comment period. A neighboring resident addressed the board with inquiries regarding the location of the driveway and if there will be any buffers and concerns about stormwater abatement, about the elevations, just basic comments about what's going to be proposed, and no other comments were received beyond that. This is a minor review for 3 lots. We did the referrals, fire, Office of Fire pension, just the standard driveway requirements and addresses. The town engineer has some comments, as you can see here, pertaining to the driveway specifications, and it's mostly a lot of technical information relating to the cross-section details and the pavement details and such. So we laid it all out there in his report. And he recommended that the applicant move forward with the application and that these could be addressed in the ongoing process. We did get comments from the Conservation Board. It's not within the jurisdiction of the wetlands, so there's no wetlands issues. They noted that it's in the medium priority area, so they're recommending that the innovative system be provided, but there's no requirement for it. And they do note that south of the property there is preserved land, and I'll show you in a little bit. It's real far south of this property, Peconic Land Trust. They're not really recommending open space. They were recommending a buffer along Old Country Road, which we could discuss. There's not a lot of vegetation there, so I don't know if a 60-foot buffer is needed, but we could look at that. The Highway Department just said that stormwater shall be captured on site and not discharged into the town's roadways. And then we had comments from the Trail Advisory. My comments in my report are going to be amended just a little bit because these comments were based on emails I received, and I had received the actual Trails Advisory Board comments after I did the report. Let me pull up the Trails Advisory recommendation for you.
Anthony, I have to say that the email string I thought was much better than the letter they actually wrote because it gave a lot more detail. Yeah,
that's true. But you know, we need formal comments for our reports. So you know, we use the sketches that they gave us in their comments. But you're right, there was more information in the email.
And I've actually gone back to them and said that what I just said to you.
Yeah.
So,
So what they're recommending here is an open space corridor, 30-foot wide, on the east side of the property. Then with the flag lots, the flags also located on the east. They call this a cluster. It's actually not a cluster plan. The 30-foot wide buffer wouldn't give it enough land area. You need 25% to be a cluster. Maybe they could increasing it if they wanted to. But this is just sort of the idea. They're looking for it on the east side of the property.
Anthony, how different would the map look if it was a cluster? Did they submit a cluster?
They did not submit a cluster plan. And to be quite honest, until we did the Trails Advisory recommendation, there really wasn't any reason for an open space plan at that time based on the information we had, and given the configuration of the property and what was around there, we probably wouldn't have requested a cluster plan at that time.
Did we waive a cluster? Because that's part of the submission request.
Well, it's part of this, and they did ask for a waiver, but part of the pre-application is identifying agency information, and some new information comes in, and then you have an opportunity to amend the map or to put something in the report so that they could amend it for the final application.
Right.
So we didn't get it up front, but you can still ask for it as part of the final.
Anthony,
With the new information.
Right, though, that trail part will run smack into the middle of a mobile home park. Is that correct?
Well, so here's the property is sitting right up here. You can see the mobile home park is down here. Further south, you have the Peconic Land Trust property. And then you have two large private swaths of ag land over here. And generally, what they're looking to do is on the north side of the road here, is county land. It's just got a loop trail in there. I don't really think it's part of a larger trail system, but it is a loop trail that goes to the whole area of open space. And it certainly looks like what the Trails Advisory Board is trying to accomplish is to get a connection from up here or even somewhere down here, ultimately, perhaps through Peconic Land Trust property, perhaps through some of this land. We have some private land over here, some town land over here, and to ultimately come out so you could get access to the creek, which sits down here. So there's a lot of pieces that need to come together, and what they're looking to do is to start piecing it together. The big issue obviously is going to be the mobile home park, which is a big missing link. I don't know the nature of the Peconic Land Trust land, if it allows for a trail, or if they have to, reconsider. I don't recall that, to be quite honest. And then obviously, we don't have any abilities just yet. I'm sure these are, when I checked, CPF properties, priority properties. So I'm sure that the town would like to see these preserved at some point. So you can sort of see how they would like to get a trail link in this area. So that's their recommendation. And so I incorporated it into the pre-app report. And I'm sure the applicants want to have a discussion with the board about it. We got no comments from the Eastport Fire District, no comments from the Health Department, and no comments from the CAC. So basically, the real recommendation that we just really need to discuss is the Trails Advisory recommendation. The common driveway is a good thing, so we're getting a single common driveway, so that works. There aren't really any major issues about the subdivision, so the big issue is the Trails Advisory Board. And I believe the applicant, I did put in this report as well, that I recommend that the applicant consider installing the new innovative wastewater systems. Like I said, it's in the medium priority area. It's not within the jurisdiction of wetlands. It is not a requirement of the town code to do this system, but it is in the medium priority, so I noted it and put it in there. And I think they'll want to discuss the trail with the board.
Anthony, I had asked that David give us an overview of this new loop, because this is not the Pomona Trail, this is something completely different. So we haven't seen an updated trail map that gives us some guidance as to where it's going to go. Is it at all feasible through the Peconic Land Trust or the private lots that are there?
Yeah, I mean, there may have been one more map here, I think, that just sort of showed similarly to this. But other than that, this is what they gave us, Jackie, and nothing else. I don't know.
Those black markers is a potential wish for
Trail, that's right. And so that's, the extent of what they've, have given us. And like Lorraine said, there was more lengthy discussions with the Trails Advisory Board, but their comments were limited to what you see here, and then this, which basically just says we'd like to see the open space with the trail connection via a 30-foot wide strip on the east side of the property, and that they attached the sketches. So that was the extent of their formal.
So the 30-foot wide trail connector, what are they taking that out of? Are they taking it out of a buffer? Or this is what I don't understand, because they're saying it's a cluster, so that...
Yeah, I mean, what I think they were trying to accomplish was getting enough open space that it would qualify as a cluster plan, because it gives the planning board the ability to reduce the size of the flag strips, for example. They could be 10 feet wide. It gives you the ability to reduce the size of the lots if they don't conform to zoning. So I think that's why they were recommending the cluster, is that in exchange for giving this strip of open space, if it affects the size of the lots, the planning board has the ability to modify the zoning. But they're not proposing it. There was no specific buffer proposed on that side at this point. If you look at the aerial, the property is largely clear. There's some remnants of vegetation left, but not a substantial buffer really on any property line. So the trail would sort of come through, or the strip of land would be over here. And how that's vegetated, separated from the driveways that would be adjacent to it, I don't know at this point, because we haven't given that thought. But that's what they're recommending, is the open space on this side of the property to accommodate the potential trail.
So should we ask for a cluster? We don't know what.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly have the discussion with the, we can. You could have that discussion. I think Carl Benincasa is here representing the applicant. And if it's something that you want to go in that direction, we certainly could do that. Is Carl here?
It's clear. I'm just questioning whether that's the best way in, for the trail. How they get around the mobile home park is tricky, right?
Yeah, no, it is. It's a tough one. Let me just go back. Without this here, and this is a big piece. This is a difficult trail to accomplish. I understand what they're trying to do, and the Trails Advisory Board feels strongly about it. But it is a difficult connection to make. There's a lot of pieces that need to happen, not the least of which is this mobile home issue here, plus these two private pieces, that are still in private ownership.
Are they in CPF?
Yeah, I believe I'm almost positive when I checked it, they were CPF priority properties.
Okay, so it makes an easier connection to come across the top of that private land, then down and then out.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we hearing from Carl? Is there any other questions? Is Carl representing this application?
Yes.
And would he like to speak?
I believe so.
No.
I'm looking for him now. Carl Benincasa?
Yes.
He's in. I'm just trying to get his video on.
Oh, he's up, but he's muted.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey, Carl.
Hi,
Hi, Board.
Carl.
Hey, Carl.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. So this is actually the first time I'm having the benefit of looking at this trail map. Kind of echo what Jackie had sort of alluded to is I don't know where this trail really goes or the likelihood that it'll ever come into existence. I mean, the first priority of this process is to preserve existing trails, and no one's saying that any of these trails do exist. And the amount of parcels you have to go to connect to, I guess, is it South Pond? What's the ultimate goal, Anthony, to get down to the creek?
Yeah, I mean, they're coming out here maybe to get down to the highway, but I mean, ultimately, they're looking to get access, to the creek over here.
I mean, it just seems like the feasibility is a significant question to burden this, rather small subdivision with such an impact. And not only that, I mean, the trail connection to the north is not a significant trail system. I think it's basically a trail loop that is blocked off from any system by Sunrise Highway. So I just don't see really the importance of this, the reason for it, or even, the necessity to preserve, first of all, a trail that doesn't exist, to connect it to a trail that likely never will exist. I think that the trailer home community there certainly is a big obstacle to getting this done. And if you're going to burden any property with that, I think you could do it without burdening this property. If you already have to burden the neighboring parcel, you could do it exclusively through that parcel if that's really an intent. But I just don't see this trail really ever coming to existence or being of any impact or necessity as far as the purpose of the code. So I think we would object to that recommendation. And then presuming once we're done discussing that, I'd also like to discuss the IA system that was required.
Okay. But just for the record, Carl, every trail starts with small pieces. The Pominock Trail started with that, and it gets linked and linked and linked. This is a new configuration. It's the first time we're seeing it as well. We only have the reports that Anthony gave us as to the rationale.
Yeah, I do understand that, absolutely. But Pominock pre-existed most of the development here. And I don't think any of this exists right now. So I don't know. Again, I just don't see the real purpose of burdening this lot. Again, because there's no trail that we're trying to preserve that exists, and because the connection to future trails is so unlikely.
Right. So I think, Anthony, we're going to need some more information, or have David come in and speak to the board about that.
I have to agree with Carl's assessment on this. The property is small, and one of our charges is to create suitable lots. The advantage of flipping the dog legs to the west side of the property is that it would allow us to establish a buffer for that neighbor, the only one who's, that neighbor who spoke at the public hearing, who was concerned about a driveway running right behind his house, and would allow us to keep all the vehicles, the vehicular activity on the interior dog leg. It's a somewhat constrained lot, and the linkage, from what I saw of Anthony's map, was very tenuous, especially going into a mobile home park.
Yeah.
So I would support this configuration, the one that Anthony had up prior.
Oh, this one, sorry. There you go.
The reduced plan?
Stipulation that the edge dog leg be placed in a non-disturbance buffer.
Gotcha.
To the benefit of the neighbor.
Okay. It's a good discussion, Dennis. Carl, you wanted to talk about the IA systems?
Yeah, that was the second recommendation, and everything else is totally fine, acceptable to my client. Just the IA system, we're in the medium priority zone, which as you know, the zone is intended to encourage voluntary action on the part of the landowner in the form of incentives, monetary incentives to upgrade septic. It is not. It is certainly not a zone where this sort of upgrade is required, necessitated. So we would think that, honestly, it's this rather small subdivision. You're talking about 3 homes with 3 septic systems, not a massive impact. You know, other subdivisions in the area, there was one, I think, in excess of 20 lots where this recommendation was rejected by the board, a 20-lot parcel, and I think in the compatible growth area as well, where they did not require an IA system. We would simply say we would follow the existing health code with respect to sanitary, and we'd ask that no greater imposition be placed in the lots than that.
Okay. Any other comments or discussions on this, on the pre-submission report, pre-application?
How does your report read, Anthony, regarding the IA?
Let me see, actually, I believe, let me see. I say, although the parcel is located in the medium priority water quality improvement area, the planning board recommends the applicant consider the installation of a new innovative alternative on-site water treatment system. I said, although the installation of the system is not mandated by the code, such project may be eligible for the septic system rebate from the town. I don't know if that's true or not, actually. I have to double check now that Carl has raised the question. Maybe the rebate's only eligible for the high priority.
So basically, Carl, our report directs you to have your client consider this.
We're happy to consider it, sure. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't.
I don't think it's written that way. I don't think.
Okay.
No, it's just considering it.
That's fine. If that's, I just wanted to make sure that that was everyone's interpretation.
Right.
And if you're asking us to consider it, we will, of course, consider it.
Okay.
Anthony, could we amend the report regarding that dog leg buffer that we talked about prior?
Yeah. So we're going to keep the driveway in this one, right?
Exactly, on the one dog leg.
And then we'll have a buffer in here.
Servants in the second.
Yep, you can do
That's
that.
a direct result of the comments that we got at the public hearing.
Yes.
Would that buffer go straight down the entire line, or?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, we probably just do a buffer right down.
Yeah.
So it would encumber all 3 pieces?
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? Carl, any other comments?
Oh, that's it. Thank you for your time.
So can I have a motion to adopt by Dennis, a second by Robin? Excuse me, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, all in favor. There's Blaney.
There's Blaney. I see you.
Are you voting on this? Now he's got no audio.
Turn your sound on.
Blaney, can you turn your sound on?
Blaney,
You gotta unmute it.
unmute it.
I wish I knew sign language.
I'm just doing the ear.
The ear. We can't hear you.
You have
Blaney,
to unmute yourself.
can you unmute him, Charles?
I'm trying.
There you
sure.
go.
There you are. Blaney, can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay, great.
this mobile home park and this whole area here, it's the only really,
Speak up.
it's the only affordable property. And there's a lot of people living there.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with these people?
Oh, we're not touching the mobile home.
When the mobile home stays, this was an issue about a trail connection, so. So we have a motion by Dennis and we have a second by Robin. All in favor of the report? Aye. Aye, okay, so it's 7 in favor.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you. Be well.
Thank you.
Judith, thank you.
Okay, Post Fields, Claire, that's you.
Yeah.
The maintenance bond.
So this is subdivision. They're just going to start working on some houses here, but the road is now ready for its maintenance bond. We've currently hold a performance bond at $157,000. That's going to be the same amount for the maintenance bond. So it'll be a maintenance bond for the road for a period of 1 year.
This is the Carlos piece, right? Hello?
I'm sorry, what, John?
This is Carlos.
It's Cardo, yes, Randy Cardo. Yep.
Any
That's what, 11 houses gonna go in there? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, any discussion? If not, can I have a motion to accept the bond?
Motion.
Robin by Glorian, second by Zuccarelli, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor.
Okay, and then
Deerfield Hollow, same.
when Deerfield Hollow is the same. It was similar, yes. In this case, it's an extension of the maintenance bond. They're very close, but the bonds, the security is running out. So we're asking for them to extend the maintenance bond for a period of 3 months. And I'll get a snow approval. 3 months. They're very close. Like the highway department's meeting out there next week. So they're very close, but they're not quite there. And the security will expire shortly. So we just want an extension until they complete everything.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
For Deerfield Hollow by Glorian, second by Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Okay, Matthew, you're next. Benedict Larson.
Yes. All right, let me just pull it up for you guys. Come on. All right, if you recall, we discussed this at the last meeting.
Oh, yes.
This is our one lot subdivision with open space,
Mhm.
in which the town is acquiring this property. This is going to remain in private ownership, and the owners of this property are seeking a boat access easement so they can use their existing marina infrastructure. Robin had raised the question, whether this would involve the trustees at all. So the applicant did reach out to them. Charles, can you let Katerina in and Holly Hubbard?
Yeah, so take me a second, because you're sharing. 1 second.
No problem. And so we did hear from the trustees, and it's not a jurisdictional issue here. They don't have any jurisdiction over Doug Canal. So this would be to amend the final conditional approval to include the 40-foot wide boat access easement, which is our new finding number 4 here, to give access to Beaver Dam Creek. Go ahead, Charles.
Oh, it's Catalina and who else?
Holly Hubbard, who's the owner.
I got it.
Thank you. So the new finding 4 would to be include the 40-foot wide boat access easement, which would provide access to them. I did include a finding for the trustees that the applicant received a letter on August 7th stating that the trustees essentially have no objection to the lot line modification. And then just some changes to the map we would need to remove the proposed language from the easement, and then Kathleen's review of the submitted document, and then town board acceptance, and that's going to change to if required, just to ensure that if we have to do it, it'll be.
So we're amending this approval, is that what we're
Correct.
doing?
Yeah. So it'll be the same approval, just with these added conditions.
Okay, we don't need a supermajority for this. It's not anything like that. Kathleen?
I believe so.
We don't, a normal vote on this, just to amend the approval? Yeah.
Correct, just an amendment.
Katerina and Holly, do you need to speak to this, or would you like to?
Katerina's sending a message,
Thank
Charles, that she can't hear.
Not on my end. Do you have a volume on your computer?
Oh, not so easy, huh? Unmute. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
She's unmuted, but no volume. Holly, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Would you like to speak while Katerina's working the technology?
Would I like to speak?
You're representing the trustees, are you? Matthew?
Excuse
No,
me.
she's the owner of the property, Jackie.
Yeah,
I mean,
the owner.
this is, I mean, this is the way it's written is just, you know, specific to what they have requested. I mean, I've spoken with Katerina up to this point, and
Okay.
she's received a copy of the amendment, so I believe everybody's on board.
Okay. Fine.
So we would just need a motion. And
Okay, we need a motion to accept the changes on the amended report. So I have a vote, motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Blaney is not there. 6 in favor, 1 wandering.
Right, I'm here. Blaney is here. What happened now?
Okay. Did you vote yes on this?
Yes.
Yes, 7 in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell Katerina not to worry. Number 14 is the Puccio Laundromat. That's yours, Matthew?
Yeah, this is going to be a slight change. We did have a pre-submission conference report to consider for adoption. I did hear from the applicant today. He did receive, along with you guys, the draft report. He's going to respond to some of our requests. So he's just asking for an extension of the deadline to adopt the report. I'd like to give him until the 10th of September because he's going to, you know, work to get closer with the parking requirement on this and reorientate the building a little bit more. You know, just better to try and accommodate what he's trying to do there.
And what's happening with the violation of the work that's already begun?
He's got the violation. He had an issue with the sidewalk in front of the building that has been addressed already to the highway superintendent's satisfaction.
Great.
So this would just be an extension of the deadline to adopt the pre-submission conference report to September 10th.
September 10th. Can I have a motion for that? Motion? Motion by Gloria and second by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Okay, Claire, Edgewater Motel.
Yeah. So this is, you know, undergoing, we had done secret on the entire project for this. This is where they're going to convert the restaurant in the front. And in about 2017, you approved some exterior changes to this building. And there was some discussion that they would reduce the number of units then. But that wasn't part of any resolution you had made. So the applicant has now submitted an request that the 8 units that are motel units in this building here be reduced to 4. They would be on average 520 square feet a piece.
Was this employee housing?
That's what I
Going
thought.
to be. So what happened is that to date, you've done secret on this, which included changing this to employee housing. And the ZBA has very recently issued a decision granting them their variances. And now they just submitted last week a site plan application, which I'm going to look at and will have for consideration on September 10th. But in the meantime, they'd like to close out this permit and consolidate the 8 units into 4 units, which will eventually be employee housing, yes.
Claire, can you just briefly remind us what the variances were?
I don't have that in front of me.
Were there many? I can't remember what.
There was the rear variance, having parking for one business on another business. I think there's some applicants who are to attend. Elizabeth was going to attend, and I think Sean Leonard was also going to attend. I don't know if you see Sean Leonard, Charles.
Going for it.
So that's, I mean, those are basically the variances. And then there was some variances about, you know, putting parking on property lines and things like that. Right.
Well,
but that was something all considered part of your secret.
Yes.
review at the time. So we took a hard look at the traffic, making sure that worked. Originally, they were going to have this to be part of a restaurant also, but that's been dropped off. It's just going to be a house at this point. And they are going to continue to have the access points here so to facilitate a better intersection for,
Right.
use. Yes, and then the additional parking, so we can get some parking off of the main road, which happens now, serving this. And we still have a buffer that's going to come back someday in the front.
Right. So Claire Vale is here. Do we?
Elizabeth Vale? Yeah.
Elizabeth. Liz Vale. If there's Liz, do you want Liz to weigh in, or shall we just take a vote, Claire?
You can just take a vote.
Okay.
If you're comfortable. As I said, you're going to see this again. This site plan's not over, but this is pretty. They just want to close out the permit for this.
Okay, so 8-4 modification of the plan. Do I have a motion on that? Motion by Glorian, second by Robin. All in favor. Opposed, extensions, 7 in favor. Thank you. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Claire, you Homeland Towers, Tuckahoe?
I am. I'm just gonna, if you bear with me, I just have to fix my screen here. Everything's upside down.
I'll stand on my head.
Okay, so I'm gonna share it. So Homeland Towers, we discussed it. The applicant was at the prior meeting. He understood that you had some concerns because of the nonconformity for the project going forward. And I think at the last meeting, which I didn't incorporate into the recommendations, but I can, Dennis had made the suggestion for them to look at possibly other sites, of course, but the Elks Club site in specific. So I'm going to put that reference in this report too. But otherwise, there was no changes in the recommendations.
Claire, did we make a recommendation that the cars be removed from that area? Do we know?
Yes. So I talk about the number of uses and,
Number 5?
Yeah, right, exactly. This is not the one with the cars. I'm sorry. This is the house. Oh, are you talking about the cars, all the other uses that seem to be on the seat? Yes, we did talk about that. Yes. I thought I just made a reference to it.
I think some car dealership was parking part of their inventory.
Oh, no, that's the other site. This is that there's several truck bodies on the property, number 6, and it's not permitted.
That's not a watermill, Jackie.
This is Tuckahoe.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. I get them mixed up too, that's for sure. So this is the one with the truck bodies on the property, which is not a residential use by any stretch. So I say to remove them, go forward. Is Robert Gaudioso available? Is he in, Charles?
Robert, 1 second.
Yeah, sorry. I should have said that at the beginning.
We've gotten a lot of correspondence on this, as you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not as much as the gas station in East Quogue.
Oh, yeah.
I think I counted 80.
Take a guess on that.
Tell me what you really think. And most of them weren't form letters. They were actually individually written with different information. I was impressed.
Yeah.
Claire, where are you with this?
I'm here. So Robert's now attending, right? Robert, you're here?
Yes, good afternoon. Robert Gaudioso on behalf of the applicants.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So we did review the draft report. Obviously, we attended the prior meetings. We did hear your concerns. We are reaching out to alternative locations. We will diligently pursue those alternatives, including the Elk Club, the sand mine. I think we had mentioned the first time that we were very interested in a town-owned property, and if the town is willing to lease that to us and change its position, we would be certainly interested in that property. And
Where
we
is
will.
that, Robert? Where is that property?
That was on the backside, close to the shooting range. So I guess there was the village property and the town property, and I understand there are some, proposals there, and we do understand that. But if for some reason the town would be willing, or at least the village would be willing, we would certainly entertain those discussions. But we understand your concerns. We understand the code provisions. What we also understand is that there really is a significant need for service in this area. I think the storm last week highlighted that. When power's out, when cable's out, a lot of times wireless service becomes essential, particularly in these times, whether it's telemedicine, telecommuting, learning at a distance for the students. Wireless service is more critical than ever. So that need will not go away until the infrastructure is provided. We'll certainly look at the alternatives. We'll diligently pursue them, and hopefully we'll be back with a project that meets the code requirements as best as possible.
Robert, if I can just address your comments about using the town property, that's nature preserve, and it's being used as trails
Sure.
For the community. So I don't think the town would want to see a commercial use in the middle of preserved land.
We understand. We're trying to look at literally every opportunity. I know one of the comments and concerns was distance from residences. Look, it's Long Island, right? If you're going to be distant from residences, where are you going to be? There's not many undeveloped parcels. There's certainly not many undeveloped commercial parcels. So we're just trying to, cross every T and dot every I, and we'll continue to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There's going to be more public discussion. There'll be another meeting on this, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. If it's processed, it will go on. So, but this is guidance.
The draft pre-submission conference.
It's going to be the adopted pre-submission conference report.
Right.
Okay.
Great.
So do I have
Thank
a
you very
motion
much.
to adopt this?
Yep.
Motion to adopt this report?
Motion.
Someone? Motion by Phil, second by Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention, 7 in favor. Number 17 is Verizon Wireless on High Street.
Yep.
Claire?
Yes. So on this one, we had discussed at the last meeting, there was some discussion about number of uses on the property. I brought that matter to the chief building inspector, who determined in this case that it was a accessory use to the property. So this is
To the sand mine, right?
Yeah.
It's accessory to the sand mine.
sand mine. Yes. Commercial use, accessory to the commercial use, the industrial use on the property. So that's how we've rectified that. There's other little changes in this report, just about the lighting. They're conforming to the code, and reference to that. Also, Jackie knows we discussed this at the staff meeting. Because of federal law, you are allowed 2 extensions of 10 feet tall. It is 160 feet now that they're proposing, and federal law allows 2 10-foot extensions. So that would be obviously another 20 feet if they avail themselves of it. But at the time, I'm sorry, I should step back. Is Denise Vista? Could you let Denise Vista in, Charles?
Say again?
Denise Vista?
Okay.
Great. Federal law allows the 2 10-foot extensions, but the applicant has said at this time there's 4 carriers going on this, so there was no intention of doing an extension at this time. So
Do they still have to come back to us, Claire?
They do, but they're but it's basically the federal government saying you have to grant it.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it's just something the town can't preempt.
May I ask a question on accessory use?
Sure.
Is it accessory use to the primary use?
Yes.
So they're saying a sand mine operation a cell tower is an accessory use to a landmine situation?
Stands mine, in this case. In this case.
Based on, I'm sorry, I'm not getting the connection.
That a sand mine has communication equipment. You
But-
could have communication equipment. You would need a cell tower.
But this cell tower is not because of the sand mine. It's not accessory to the sand mine. Meaning,
Go ahead.
I'm confused by the term accessory, and I'm looking for the connection between the sand mine and the cell tower.
He is saying that a cell tower, because it involves communication, a sand mine also involves communication, and therefore it's accessory.
But you're not generating the cell tower because of the sand mine needing the cell tower. Correct?
Yes, this is his interpretation. And it's been done before, just so you know. There was one other case that it's been determined. The Tortorella cell tower, which is called Wireless in Hampton Bays, that was also determined to be accessory to the commercial pool business on the property.
So it's a use question, right? It's an accessory use.
Yes.
But they're not
connected, is what Robin is asking, yeah.
By the interpretation of the chief building inspector in both cases, he is saying yes, it is accessory.
I'm having a problem.
Okay, I have a cell phone, so does that mean I could put a cell tower?
Yeah, right.
No.
Just because they need the reasoning, the reason for the cell tower is not generated by the sand mine. They don't need the cell tower. So I'm getting, the connection here is I'm losing the connection.
Well, this is the decision of the chief building inspector, Robin. We hear your concerns, but he has made this decision. That can be appealed to the ZBA by somebody with standing, if necessary.
So they're leasing then the land from the sand mine, right?
Correct.
To be on that property.
Yes.
Okay.
I thought I read that the sand mine is not in the code in the town.
Well, that was my interpretation.
So I'm not making this up. I heard it.
It's still there. I still put it in there, but it was my determination, and rightly so. Robin brought up that the intent was not being met there.
Yeah.
You know, I was parsing words there that it wasn't listed. Therefore, you know, there's only one use on the property.
Right.
And she's correct. You know, she's correct. And sort of the intent was not being met. The one use per lot, which is in a residential zone. But there's 3 lots here. You know, they could go to the ZBA and get an additional use on this property, making a finding that there's 3 lots that are involved, obviously. So there, you know, that is a process. But this is something where the chief building inspector has said it is accessory. It is a commercial use, which is a distinction for you to have your own personal cell phone, you know, cell tower on your lot.
I was thinking,
yeah. So I know it's, you know,
it's a stretch.
Can I just maybe respond, Denise Vista, on behalf of the applicant, Verizon Wireless. In many municipalities, actually, these are classified as accessory uses. You know, I understand that you know, maybe the correlation isn't there, but oftentimes they are on parcels such as this and are deemed to be accessory uses. So we do have a lease with the sand mine owner, and any expansion outside of the equipment compound, he would receive the rental. The company would receive the rental income from that.
So, but in the instances where in other municipalities, is it specifically defined as an accessory unit, in accessory use in and of itself? So it doesn't have to be ours ties, or I thought ties to the primary use. So your example is not doesn't carry through here. I'm having a problem with, I guess, my own buildings department. Because I would thought there's supposed to be a connection between the primary and accessory uses.
Well, you can make the connection that those on the sand mine will be utilizing their wireless devices.
So will I. And I'm not on the sand line, and it wouldn't give me a right to have it as I mean, Gloria brought it up, and I don't want to be facetious about it, but it is the logical connection, or the direction that your argument is going means that it can become an accessory use for any business to be able to put it on there. I don't think that's what the intent of the accessory use law. And maybe I could be wrong.
You're looking for connectivity, Robin, I understand it, yeah. But the chief building inspectors made the determination that's accessory too.
So, and the threshold is typically whether it's customary and accessory or customary and incidental. So the chief building inspector has deemed it for the same mine that a wireless tower is customary and incidental, and perhaps he did so by looking at what happens in other municipalities. But that is within his discretion to make that finding.
Okay.
Any other questions? Denise, do you have anything more to say? You've read.
I'll just add on to what Claire had mentioned about the extension. We don't have any plans of extending the pole, since this pole is planned for co-location. So, at this time, we don't foresee certainly any extension over the proposed height. Just wanted to add that.
Okay.
Okay.
So, no more questions? Can I have a motion to adopt this draft into an adopted report?
Actually, it's not the report. You are adopting the report, but you're also adopting the fee conditions of approval, which they're not significant.
Do you want to go over those?
Yeah. So hold on. Yeah, basically, there's the color needs to be just noted on the plans of this pole, which is usually generally gray or silver. And then the owner and width of the right-of-way, known as High Street, shall be depicted. The entire impervious area shall be in the stormwater volume calculations. Those two, B and C, are town engineer requests. And then our typical general conditions. And I'm also adding the condition that High Street shall be maintained to a clear height of 14 feet, which is a fire marshal usual condition. So, vegetation doesn't prevent that. Payment of an engineering fee in the affidavit, and 6 sets of plan. So this is a conditional approval.
Okay. Motion by Gloria, second by Dennis. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?
Opposed?
Okay, 6 in favor, 1 opposed.
Thank you.
Okay, Anthony, we're back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Denise.
Thank you.
Comic Paddler, Anthony.
Yep, there we go. Okay, so we're just going to do the staff report. We're familiar with this project. It's the Peconic Paddler in Riverside, right on Peconic Avenue, just near the traffic circle. Looking to redevelop the property with a new building for a restaurant and to maintain the boat rental business with new parking. We did the pre-app report on this some time ago. They made some changes to the plan to address architecture, address some of our concerns regarding the parking. They switched. This is going to be the one-way in and then one-way out per our recommendation. And they made some changes to the landscaping plan as well. This is just a little rendering just to remind the board what the building will look like. And let me just see here. Sorry.
What was the hold up, Anthony, with this application? Was it the health department?
Well, we don't require health department for site plans. No, I mean it's a tough site. It's it's a tough site to engineer. The town's been working with the applicant. We've secured grant money to help with the project, and they made revisions to the plans, getting them back to the engineer. So this has been a little back and forth going on, but largely things have been going pretty smooth actually for this project. So we've been working closely with the applicant. They're still working on DEC and health department. So we're going to do our staff report, and then we'll have our conditional approval next week. And then they could proceed with getting everything finished up. So I have this draft staff report right here. The nature of the project as I described it. I describe also in here compliance with the Riverside Overlay District. This is an RO1 zoning. It's the most intense zoning designation for Riverside. So this was a particular property that they wanted to see redeveloped with access to the waterfront, as well as some maybe potential other future uses should the sewer district come to be. There could be another component to developing this property with the hotel use, for example. But right now it's just the restaurant and the boat sales. We did not get any public comments during the public hearing or the written comment period. SECRA, it's an unlisted action, and we issued a negative declaration for this project on October 10th, 2019. We did our referrals. The town engineer did a complete review for us, sheet by sheet, and basically went through all the technical issues that need to be addressed, the sanitary system, various paving details, inlet information, that kind of stuff. So it's out there, and there'll be made conditions of approval for the project when we do it next week. We got comments from the Office of Fire Prevention. It was pretty standard. There's no concerns that they have and no additional requirements at this time. Health Department said that there is no pending application at this time. My understanding is the applicant, right now the property is located there, the town of Riverhead sewer lines basically almost come up to this property. So it would be great if they could tap into the town's sewer district. At this time, I don't know if that's happening. So one of the issues I believe that the applicant is having is that Riverhead is saying that they will consider it, but they have to have site plan approval from the town. We can't give site plan approval unless they have a septic design on there. So the way we're going to do this is they're going to design this with a septic system, and if they are able to tap into the to Riverhead's sewer district, we could just modify our approval and acknowledge that. That would be great. But at this time, they would have to design it with the septic system on site.
Is it an IA?
An IA system, that's correct. That's correct. Suffolk County Department of Economic Development and Planning said the project is a matter for local determination. New York State DEC indicated that the project may be subject to permits, and they listed the ones that they may need, the scenic rivers, for example, freshwater wetlands, and the speedies. So whatever they need, we will condition that they have to secure those before we assign the maps. Unlike the health department, we do require DEC approval. The Conservation Board also gave us a bunch of comments. I'll just quickly go through them. For the record, most of their comments have some technical information pertaining to the test hole data, which a lot of it has been revised anyway. They're asking for a 10-foot buffer against the wetlands, which we'll incorporate into the approval. They actually didn't, the project sits 50 feet from the wetlands, which is the reduced setback per the Riverside Overlay District. It's not the setbacks per the town code under Chapter 335, but they are the setbacks under the Riverside Overlay District. If you look at the Conservation Board comments, they actually didn't talk about setbacks at all, other than the fill, because Marty's office was involved when they did this overlay district, so he's aware of the wetland setback. So they didn't raise it as an issue. So issues relating to landscaping and establishing a buffer against the wetlands will incorporate into the approval next week. so that won't be a problem. And of course, they mentioned the innovative system.
Are you on the phone? Yeah. Who and who? Are you still on? All right.
You can hear me?
No, John should mute himself when he's on the phone.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so CAC gave us a letter supporting the project. The Architectural Review Board approved the project. I still have to put in the date. I was at the meeting. I couldn't find the minutes from the meeting. That next line about the Suffolk County Planning Commission could come out because I already put something in there. The DPW came back with comments, and they're pretty standard design elements pertaining to ADA compliance in terms of the apron access, the driveway, drainage details, do not enter, do not exit signs. Pretty standard for the DPW. So those will also be incorporated into the site plan approval. So those were the referrals that we received. And then we go through the site plan elements pursuant to 33182, traffic and access. The project complies with a site plan relating to traffic access. They designed it to keep the entrance as far away from the intersection as possible. That was part of our recommendation. And they do comply with the parking requirements. So they met that. Interior circulation and parking. Again, they meet the parking requirement and a 50-foot setback from the wetlands, but they have a one-way in and one-way out. So it's better for site circulation. So that was good. It's a fairly small site, so there's not a lot of opportunities, but the one-way in and the one-way out was the best way to accomplish it for this site. Landscaping and screening. We're saying in there that the landscape plan needs to augment the proposed landscaping with some additional native species, just to spruce it up a little bit. I will leave it to the applicant to propose something, and we give a list of some of the species there. One item I mentioned in there, they are proposing little leaf linden street trees on the property. Those are absolutely beautiful trees, but they have a very, very low canopy, very low to the ground. And I'm just a little concerned, given this property's location near the intersection, the one-way in and the one-way out. Those trees may be a little bit of a problem if they're not maintained for sight distance. So I would probably recommend a different tree for this site, maybe a red maple, something with a higher canopy. That would look nice there. And they also have to do the 10-foot wide non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer adjacent to the wetlands. That's per the Conservation Board. D, existing development master plan. As I already said, we are implementing the Riverside overlay district as much as we can at this point without the sewer district. But this project is certainly consistent with that. And we've looked at that a number of times. The natural features, obviously this is in the wetlands, it's on the river. And although we don't meet the wetland setback under 325, we do meet the wetland setback under the R01 zoning overlay district, so it's consistent with that. Plus, I believe the DEC has a 50-foot wetland setback, so they're consistent with that. The other side of it is, given this property's location, we want access to the water there, like it's always been. So this is a case where the waterfront uses are just going to be closer to the water, given the constraints to the size of the property, plus looking to accomplish what we wanted to under the overlay district. There's no significant cultural features on or adjacent to this property. Regarding pavement, I just noted that the town engineer's issues are to be addressed. Lighting, the lighting plan looked good. The only thing they need to do is indicate the Kelvin measurement for the fixtures, and they shall not exceed 3,000 Kelvin. That needs to be shown on the plan. Other than that, it's a good lighting plan. Everything's minimum. The facade to the building, again, the ARB approved the project. I just got to put in the date. What they'll do, the final, obviously, submission, the final elevations with all the colors, materials, and details, shall be shown and provided. But the building, as you know, started off different and was amended and came out really nice, I think, at this point. Regarding drainage, again, engineering, they just need to address the engineering comments. Public utilities, again, the water supply and sewage disposal will be subject to health department approval, and we're going to ask that the septic be shown. Again, it's a high priority, so it would have to be the new IA system. And again, if they're able to tap into Riverhead, we could simply modify the site plan. That's not a problem. Public address and sound systems, they will be prohibited, so that won't be a problem. Physically challenged access, again, they show that the plans have ADA compliant spaces with the appropriate paving material and any other comments from the engineer. And the Suffolk County DPW will need to be addressed. The DPW did have some comments relating to ADA access to the site, so they'll have to incorporate that. Regarding energy conservation, we didn't have any information regarding the energy needs of the building. However, the building shall comply with the energy conservation requirements pursuant to Chapter 123 of the Town Code, and that's the building construction requirements. So there are energy code requirements that building department addresses at the time of the building permit. Cross-access is not applicable here. There's no ability to have cross-access with any adjacent commercial properties. The architecture, we've already commented on. And then the agricultural overlay district. This property is not in the ag overlay district, so it's not applicable. So that's basically the report going through the standards. And most of the, and I'll be sure to have for the board before the meeting, the next meeting, a conditional approval, but most of the conditions are going to revolve around the engineer and the conservation board to tighten up the, the technical aspects of the plan. Since most of the larger site plan elements have been addressed in terms of parking and building design and access, most of these conditions are really just the very technical engineering conservation board requirements.
So Anthony, I have two questions.
Sure.
You referred to the intersection. Are you referring to the traffic circle?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah.
Whose jurisdiction is that, the traffic circle? County? State?
I believe the county. Yeah, well, the DPW. The DPW is the one that provided us with the road work requirements. So I'm imagining it's the DPW, that whole section.
Okay. And my second question is about the jurisdiction of Riverhead Town. I don't know where the line is. This is solely entirely in Southampton. Where does Riverhead?
Nope, it's all in Southampton. It's just that the town, which falls to the north here of Riverhead, their sewer district lines come down Peconic Avenue, and I don't know where they land on exactly here. They might be right in front of the site, and I know the town has even tried to work with the town of Southampton. Has tried to work with the town of Riverhead to see if we could get them connected. It is a Riverhead decision, but they do have the ability to approve that, and we certainly wouldn't have any objections in eliminating a septic system and tapping into a sewer if we could do it, even if it's the town of Riverhead.
But other than the sewer, I'm saying, do they have a right, because they're within 500 feet, to review this application?
Yes, and everything was referred to them.
Okay.
Yep. And we did not get any comments from them.
Any other questions? Are we waiting? This is just a draft. We're just reviewing this. No action.
Well, you could, unless you have any major changes, I would recommend approving the staff report, and then we'll do the approval at the next meeting.
Okay. So can I have a motion to adopt the staff report? Zuccarelli, second by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Thank you.
Thanks.
CBS, Claire.
Yes. So in May, you had adopted a resolution stating that MPV should be your consultants on the project once we had received the traffic study from CVS. And we had received it. I got an estimate from MPV, and the amount for the review is $13,400, $800. And the applicant has agreed to that amount and are providing the check, and then Nelson Pope and Voorhees will review the traffic study for the CVS, which at this time incorporates the cross-access, the join access. So they will eliminate the two accesses that are now and become one. That was part of the proposal, and also to facilitate access back to good ground in the rear. So that is a definite improvement to the site. So, but
do they look at circulation in the parking lot in the front that we are reconfiguring?
yes,
Yes.
that'll all be part of the review. Yeah. I don't know if the applicants, I'm sorry, the applicant's representative might be here, Elizabeth Vale.
She's there. She just
she's present.
Sent a chat.
She sent a check?
Yeah, a chat.
She
clicked on the chat box and wrote something.
Okay, just one second. I'm gonna stop sharing so we can do that.
You guys all right?
She said
Yes,
she's
it's all
here,
good.
they're issuing a check and should be in the town's possession by Monday or Tuesday. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Does she want to speak or no?
What was that?
She doesn't say she does.
Okay.
So
Wait, Charles, can you just make sure of that and let her in if she's there?
Yeah, I have a hand up. 1 second.
Okay.
What's the name again?
Elizabeth Vale.
Vale.
Here she comes.
She's muted.
Hi, board members. Liz
Hi,
Vale, Station Road. How are you? Good afternoon.
Sorry, Liz.
That's okay. Thank you. Now you can vote on the resolution. It's fine. We are aware of the amount, and we're issuing the check probably tomorrow, which will be in the town's possession by Monday or Tuesday.
Great.
Thank you. So can I have a motion to accept the motion by Gloria and second by Dennis? All in favor?
Aye.
7 in favor, no opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, board members.
Liz.
Okay, Matthew, we're back up with 12 Foster.
12 Foster, yeah. Charles, can you let in Wayne Brown, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let me pull this up. Just a little update on this, everybody. Hold on, it's not letting me share. There we go. We're on action deadline for this application. However, we did get a referral back from engineering that they're not recommending approval at this time. The applicant has already consented to what would constitute a one-day extension that would bring us to August 27th. Being that there's a number of issues on this property that I'd like to go over, I think it would be beneficial to at least review the staff report to try and work some of that out with the applicant. And then, leave the, adoption of the staff report and the decision to the 27th. I don't know if Wayne's here. And then
He's there.
Yes.
Okay, so once, if everyone's ready, I can start going through the report.
Yep, please.
Okay. Okay, this project is for a special exception application for a change of use from wholesale distribution center for wine and beer and alcoholic beverages to 2 building and special trade contractors. It's a 12,420 square foot building. It's going to have cross access to the east on a 43,315 square foot parcel in the LI 40 zoning district, the APOD, New York State's archaeologically sensitive area. It's at 12 Foster Avenue in Bridgehampton. It's fronts on Butter Lane as well. This had previous special exception approval back in 2014 where they were going to do a change in use from the alcohol and wine and beer distributor to 1 special trade contractor. That was last modified in 2014. Since expired. So they're, looking forward to doing this into 2 units. Well, sorry, two uses in one area. In terms of secrets, a type 2 action, so no environmental review is required. Public comments, we had a public hearing on June 25th. This was closed with a 30-day written comment period, and we had no public comments received during the hearing or written comments. In terms of referral, this is essentially the engineers reissued their old referral from March, calling out a number of issues with the drainage calculations as well as some site plan issues. Does not recommend approval based on what he has. Fire District, Bridgehampton Fire District Board of Commissioners have reviewed the plans and they have no requests for recommendations. Fire prevention, they note that access appears to be adequate and the area is served by public water and all additional fire services can be addressed at the building stage. This did get referred to landmarks. It might have just fell into a certain criteria. They did not have any recommendations as this is not a historically eligible structure. It's an dates to the late 80s, I believe, to the mid 80s. And it was a storage barn. It's not of any kind of historic value that they noted. Highway Department, they also did note some issues with the drainage calculation and hope that the board took that into account. Planning Commission for the county, they found this to be a matter of local determination. We did not receive anything from the Health Department, nor anything from the Bridgehampton CAC. In terms of site plan review, in terms of parking, 34 parking spaces are shown where 31 are required by the code. I did provide the calculations as well. They need 2 handicap stalls. All the stalls that they showed are appropriate. They're the 10 by 18 that we require for unimproved parking. This is gravel. Access to the site is via it's 150-foot wide curb cut on Butter Lane on the west side of the property. I can bring up the site plan to show you what I'm talking about here, which is back in the beginning. Sorry. So as you can see now, the whole front of this is open to parking in the front. And there's going to be there's a second access point on Foster Avenue, which exists now, and a 1,900 square foot cross access easement that allows access to the next property as well as the property to straddle the parking, to straddle the property line. The applicant is not proposing any changes to the existing curb cuts or cross access, and I'm recommending that the applicant reduce the size of the curb cut along Butter Lane by constructing 15-foot wide landscape islands with mountable curbing. I know the applicant had brought into discussion at the public hearing that there are trucks that access this site. I think with a plan that I worked on with the town engineer, they'd still be able to achieve that. So if you see in yellow on this, can everybody say where my cursor is? There'd be an island coming down from the north, from the south, with a significantly wide curb cut. This is 37 feet. And would still allow access to the trucks parking spaces as well as these 2 loading bays, which they have identified as their active doors, while these are labeled as inactive doors. So the reduced curb cut would allow for more organized access and egress to the parking area, focus the runoff to drainage structures that are on site, and essentially buffer the parking along Butter Lane. In addition, this is coming from the town engineer. Also, the existing cross access on the eastern property line should be widened to the full 20-foot width. It's shown as a smaller curb cut now. In terms of landscape and buffers, they do show 12 4-foot high boxwoods spaced 3 feet apart along on the Foster Avenue entrance. They need a detail for that. And then the islands that are proposed should be landscaped with some kind of evergreen shrubs as well as street trees. And I would recommend a maintenance bond of 2 years for those. Lighting, no lighting details were provided. It's going to be recommended that all existing lighting must be in conformance with the town code, dark skies, and have a limit of 3,000 Kelvin or less. With your standard lighting conditions, architecture, the applicant's not proposing any changes to the facade. I've shown you guys pictures of this before. It's a little dated. I think this would be a good opportunity for the applicant maybe to refresh the architecture, maybe some sort of facade details, paint, it's, it'll really be up to the board what they want to recommend in regard. The ARB has not seen it because they're not proposing any changes at this time. No outdoor display is proposed, and prohibition of outdoor storage without planning board approval will be a condition of approval. Drainage, the town engineer will need to indicate approval, and that will have to be compliant with. Handicap, as I said, 2 spaces will be required. One of those spaces has to have an 8-foot van accessible with signage. And they do need to do a change to the handicap detail just to show the correct dimensions. Signage, there's no signage proposed this time. I was curious with the board if you guys wanted review of future signs on this property, or you want to leave it to the ARB after CO. I mean, that's really a matter for you guys, if you want to do future review of signs or not. A dumpster is shown in the front yard. That'll have to be relocated to a conforming location in the rear. In terms of special exception, I can't go through these requirements. A, such use will be in harmony with and promote the general purposes and intent of this chapter. The applicant's petition addresses section 333. Subject property is located with LI 40, and the special trade contractor use is considered appropriate for the zoning district. B, the plot area is sufficient, appropriate, and adequate for the use and reasonably anticipated operation expansion thereof. The site plan concerns an existing building with a total area of 12,491 square feet. The applicant is proposing 2 special trade contractor uses within the building space as permitted under section 330-35 of town code, pursuant to 1 use per 10,000 square feet. C, the proposed use will not prevent the orderly and reasonable use of adjacent properties, particularly where they are in a different district. The site is located in LI 40. The property is surrounded on all 4 sides by industrial uses. Therefore, it is anticipated that this use of the building will not prevent the reasonable use of the adjacent properties. D, the site plan is suitable for the location of such use in the town. It's in LI 40. The subject property is designated LI 40 in the adopted 1970 master plan and the town's 1999 comprehensive plan update, and is currently zoned LI 40. E, the characteristic of the proposed use, not such that this proposed location would be unsuitable near a church. It's not, the closest thing is Hagerman School, but that's more than 1,000 feet away. F, the proposed use, particularly in the case of non-nuisance industry, conforms to the chapter definition of a special exception use where such definition exists, or where the generally accepted definition of such use where it does not exist in this chapter. There's no definition in the zoning code for general and special trade contractor. It's listed in the table of use regulations, which references the SIC code and the proposed use in compliance therewith. G, access. This is where I think some mitigation will need to take place in regard to those islands. I think that would be an appropriate form of mitigation. Deals with access. Facilities are adequate for the estimated traffic from public streets and sidewalks, so as to ensure the public safety and to avoid traffic congestion. And further, that vehicular entrances and exits shall be clearly visible from the street and not within 75 feet of the intersection of street lines at an street intersection, except under unusual circumstances. The existing curb cut, that rather large one on Butter Lane, is within 65 feet of Foster Avenue. So as proposed, it doesn't meet that special exception requirement. But you know, if the landscape islands were required, this would, you know, bring this into compliance with that regulation. C, all proposed curb cuts have been approved by the street or highway agency that has jurisdiction. This would be subject to permits from the town highway department. Sufficient, I, there are off-street parking and truck loading spaces in the least in the number required by the provisions of 33092 through 33101, but in case an adequate number for the anticipated number of occupants, both employees, et cetera, they meet their parking requirements. J, adequate buffer yards. The adjacent properties are zoned LI 40. The appropriate setbacks for parking are met. Additional landscaping should be provided on the south side, which they're showing. That's an old requirement. I can change that. K, adequate provisions will be made for the collection and disposal of stormwater runoff. They'll need to meet all the requirements of the town engineer. Oh, sorry. No outdoor sales lot, rental equipment, or storage or display will be permitted in the required front yard area. No outdoor storage, display, or sales are proposed. Conditional approval will prohibit outdoor storage. And M, the proposed use recognizes and provides further specific conditions and safeguards required for particular uses in the article, and there's no specific conditions associated with this use. I don't know if Wayne has any questions for the board.
Any questions from the board? Wayne, do you have some comments?
Yes. if you recall at the public hearing, I did make a presentation and I didn't see some of those facts stated in the staff report, and that has to go to the history of this property. It is acknowledged this is in the light industrial zone surrounded by industrial uses, and it has been in light industrial use since the early 80s, when the zoning board granted necessary variances to allow the building to be built to be used as a warehouse for landscaping and garden supplies, outdoor storage, repair of equipment and office, and even approved fuel pumps at that time. This planning board in March of 1987 approved the site plan as it exists. You approved the curb cut on the west. You approved the curb cut on the south. You approved the drainage that was there, that's existing. In '94, the zoning board granted a variance and a reduction in the parking so that they could allow Michael Riley to put his woodworking workshop in that property. He existed for almost 10 years there. Unfortunately, never got a CO for that. And further in '94, though, the planning board then entertained a change to allow the property to be used for the wine and beverage distribution because it required special exception approval. And you granted special exception approval to that wine and beer distributor. Same special exception standards, same curb cuts, same paving, same drainage, etc. In 2014, after the wine and beer distributor disappeared, the applicant, the owner, Ray Wisnowski, put in a new tenant, which is the current tenant, which was Casual Water, who has two partners who since split up, legally split up their businesses. They have two different entities, both operating out of the same space. There's no physical separation. They both operate. And so this board granted special exception approval again in 2014. The only issue for the board, Mr. Wisnowski was reluctant to do. You debated this several times. There was a revision to the site plan at that time. Had to do with providing some screening on the southeast corner of the parking lot. And because of that, Mr. Wisnowski never completed his site plan. But nonetheless, the special trade contractors have been existing since 2014. Actually, there's been no complaints, no issues, no traffic concerns otherwise since this building was given a CO in 1987. That being said, we're here 2020 trying to get him to comply and get the certificate of occupancy for these special trade contractors, which this building was originally designed and the site plan was designed and approved for. So what comes out of this? As I hear the words mitigation, trying to figure out what are the impacts that we're mitigating, and basically what are the changes since what you approved through the history of this, but more importantly, what did you change since, what's changed since 2014? Nothing. The approval in 2014 didn't have one issue related to the westerly curb cut whatsoever. And at this time, Mr. Wisnowski, I've asked him, based on what the comments that were raised at the public hearing, to go back and talk to Bob Smith. And what's being expressed today is a sketch that was done by the staff and the town engineer, which we only got the last day or so. Haven't had a chance to talk to Bob Smith again or to Mr. Wisnowski, and we have no problem putting this over until the next meeting. But the concern here is that there's some, the issues on the westerly curb cut, this building is designed and the elevation is designed that there's 4 bays on that westerly side that have a drive up, back up type of loading dock. And they do on occasion, and based on prior history and prior tenants, use those bays. Currently, 2 were listed on the site plan as inactive. The 2 are active. But it could be 2 years from now, there's different tenants and they need all 4 bays. So Mr. Wesnowski is very reluctant to provide any curb because this board would probably not allow a curb cut to be opened when he desires to use those bays. And so you would, the plan in front of us, and I'm not sure what is meant by a mountable curb because it sort of becomes irrelevant because the second recommendation is to put landscaping in that area, which is also landscaping out in the town right away, not on our property. So the concerns Mr. Wesnowski has here is doing any of this. He's not inclined to do it. I don't believe you have the legal nexus or the support to say there's a traffic concern or otherwise. It's not an incompatibility with the surrounding light industrial zone. You've had site plans, you approved it the way it is. As far as the town engineer's concerns, they had to do with drainage, which is all existing. I'm told by Bob Smith, they've consulted with the town engineer and there's some misinformation, but yet he will work that out with the town engineer, but it's all existing. There's nothing, not 1 inch of paving being proposed here. Everything's existing. The drainage that was there was previously approved by the planning board and the town engineer. So what is it that we're doing today that is increasing the amount of runoff or changes from that? It's just a change in a tenant. There's no increase in traffic. There's no increase in coverage. You're looking for screening and all sorts of things that Mr. Wesnowski is not willing to undertake at this time for these tenants, this change in tenancy. As far as the building, he has no inclination to change the building. It's not something that is easily achieved. And again, there's no nexus to change the color or repainting the building. So that was stated previously when you were looking at this to determine whether it should be deemed complete, which are all substantive issues, not submission issues. We mentioned it again at the public hearing, and here we are, and all the same issues are being raised again. But yet, I cannot tell my client that this board has the legal nexus to demand this. And it would be unfortunate if we'd have to somehow question this in another manner. So I'm hoping that the board will go back and revisit this and try to work with the fact that in 2014, he's reluctantly agreed to do the landscaping on the southeasterly corner, which you insisted on in 2014. He's also providing a cross access with the adjoining property to the east, all of which are upgrades from the existing conditions. Some of the other smaller issues about dimensions of parking spaces and moving the dumpster, they're all acceptable to the client, but the major question here is altering that curb cut. Now, I have continued, I took the board's comments. I've asked Bob Smith to see if, well, is there any form of an island or otherwise that could be put in there? And I don't believe that he had the opportunity to review that or discuss that with Mr. Wesnowski at this time. But I just want to make sure that's on the record. And if you have any further questions, I can discuss those with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can offer a little to, I understand that they use they want to retain the use of those front bays, but I had the opportunity to go back out to the site. Let me just get out of this for a second. There's also bays on the back of the building. So I don't know, they have the ability to, if you guys can see the screen now, I'll pull it up for you. See, there's rather large bays on the back too, which they actively use. I don't know if that's an option because I know Wayne, is speaking to. I'm sorry,
Matt. I just want to point out you're talking about a current tenant.
A current tenant, correct? Yes, where they get, they're getting deliveries.
The building has evolved since 1987 when it was first approved with several tenants, and will continue to evolve through time, being that light industrial is not readily available in this town.
Let me just say, Wayne, that Mr. Wisnowski's property on Maple Lane also at one time had wide open entrances, no curbs. And over the years, curbs and islands have been installed. It doesn't seem to impede the businesses that are there, and it's a variety of commercial businesses. So Ray knows this and has done it before. I mean, I've been monitoring this property for the last month, and there are cars parked there mostly, almost 95%. No trucks. Trucks are using the rear. We're trying to, in all instances with this, not only this property, to, and it's not even cosmetic, it's to integrate these properties into the environment. And this is an example where nothing really has been done to this property for a long time. And I don't think that what we're asking for is exceptional or out of line. I do think that if you present it to Ray, I understand his resistance, but you know, you can ask him to look around the corner.
I would just say again, Jackie, that I appreciate your comments and thoughts, but that I don't believe that arises to a legal nexus to require such. I understand the board's desires sometimes, but we got to go back to what can legally be insisted upon. That being said, if you look at the one picture again on the west, it really shows the fact that these are, you know, loading bays. And you can't physically create that in other circumstances. You see the elevation change so that you could have a truck back up to that level.
Well, there's on the design suggestion, the opening is what, 37 feet, Matt?
Correct, and I can bring that up.
Yeah,
That's
37.
only for the two center bays. What about the two end bays?
You could still drive from there. There's still circulation.
Yes, it's here.
You're talking about a tractor trailer backing up to one of those bays.
Can he use back?
You'll remember when you did the whole analysis of the new car dealers down in Flying Point, and what you required turning radiuses and tractor trailers pulling in and off the site. So think about a tractor trailer and the radius they would need to maneuver in this plant and get to those two bays.
Are you proposing tractor trailers?
Yeah, that's my question.
The future of this building is, again, what you would be doing here is rendering those bays useless.
Do you need us to look at your tractor trailer radius for this site?
Claire, are you the planner on this, or is Matt?
No, I'm just saying.
We don't need that. It works fine as it exists. And the potential, as it was approved by the planning board, not once, several times as a special exception, approved this special exception with no change to that curb cut. And now all of a sudden, the existing use that's been there for 6 years at least, now suddenly requires this curb cut to change.
As an improvement, and I also believe it's going to help with the drainage and the swale that exists here. And there's a substantial drainage issue.
There is a
Over
drainage
the years,
structure there.
some of it's been corrected. The engineers are looking at it, right, Matt?
Correct.
They've looked at it and they've made a series of recommendations. I just ask you if you could discuss it with Ray Wisnowski.
You know, with apologies to Yogi Berra, with the deja vu all over again. I keep thinking, I keep going back to 2014. I was here for the first one. When was that? 2004, when we did the liquor.
Yeah, when Sokolin was in there. Right?
Sokolin, yeah.
Yeah.
And the same discussion.
Same issues. Right.
Nothing changed. And
The
you
fact
approved it.
remains, this building was set up with those loading bays, you know, open curb cut. I mean, you can't fundamentally, this is a nice concept, but you can't fundamentally change the nature of the building. You need access to those loading bays.
Well, in so many instances, including Old 27, I mean, where we have these wide open curb cuts, we are trying to alter them in such a way that you don't have these that look like a series of garages along the highway.
Exactly, but in this case, this building was actually set up that way for full loading bays. With this landscaping, you're not going to be able to get, two of those bays are going to be inaccessible to tractor trailers. You'd be fundamentally changing. I'm not embracing the design of this building by any means. I mean, that was in the early 80s when it was set up.
Maybe there could be a different design that could come out of Bob Smith's office that shows something, in terms of an island that we retain, at least gets the curb cut further away from Foster Avenue, because it's within 65 feet now. It's got to be at least within 75 feet as per the special exception requirements, at least that side. Try and meet that requirement.
Yeah,
this board's already approved that twice with that same setup. Special exception approval under the same standards, approved it twice, adopted it twice, as is.
Pretty slow moving under there, Matt. You know what happens? Cars gingerly go under the railroad trestle, and once they exit that railroad trestle, they really don't pick up any speed until they get sort of third of the way down Butter, and then they, of course, they gun it heading to the Ross School.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my concerns for, I understand there's no traffic concerns now, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be a traffic concern in the future. And I mean, for the use now, it seems to largely be employee parking that's double parked in front of the whole, front facade, the whole western side of this. And, this would, organize the, entrance and egress right into one central location while still having access to the front. And they still have and I understand it's not a loading dock in the back, but they still have 3 very large doors in the rear of this property. I mean, as made evident, you see in the picture, you saw the tractor trailer going to the back.
A loading bay from a light industrial has tremendous value.
No, I understand.
You can actually pull, even freight shippers mark their freight, loading bay or non-loading bay, and they actually charge you more without a loading dock. So we can't anticipate future uses. I think we should try and get the landscaping along Foster that was previously submitted.
And we do want some on Butter. You know, the industrial park that's just a little bit north on the road, on the western side. I mean, there's a lot of landscaping and thought that went into the design of that. A lot of thought went into the design of this property.
Can we get carve out for a couple of street trees? Is that feasible?
Well, we want something to break up that massive open.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of a bank of landscaping like pods or modules where you can get a street tree.
Yeah, Matthew said it doesn't have to be this.
This is where I was at with it. It doesn't have to be this.
But it can be some delineation and articulation of greenery along that road.
Is that feasible?
I can only pass.
You can only ask Ray.
And this is what I've been trying to get Bob Smith and Mr. Wisnowski to look at and consider. And there's 2 elements. One is the truck maneuvering, and 2 is how that could be designed. The thought I had was 2 islands in between the 4 loading bays. So you have the loading bay on the north and the south, and then you have the middle.
Well, that could work.
But I don't know physically that meets all the specs. So that's what I've asked them to think about, and I don't know if it'll work.
Well, come back to us with something.
That's a good thought, Wayne.
You know our goals there.
I just want you to understand what Mr. Wisnowski's position is, despite Wayne's position.
We've heard his position on other applications.
And just for the record, this is not an administrative review. It is before this board. It's been 6 years since you saw it. So these are questions you're allowed to ask and conversations you can have and explore. there is a legal nexus for it.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Okay, so your comments are well taken. Any other questions on the board? This is just a draft, right? You're going to bring.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
Going back to the drainage. We're having an awful lot more heavy rains, and so the need for drainage review, I think, is appropriate, not just because of the changes in our weather patterns. So even if it was okay 6 years ago, you know, we get a lot more rain.
And engineering has even adjusted that to
Yes.
accommodate a 3-inch drainage.
Exactly.
3-inch rainfall, yeah.
I just want to remind the board, I don't have a problem if an applicant is expanding their parking lot, adding paving, adding roof area, things that cause stormwater runoff and drainage. But when you're changing a tenant with no physical changes to the site other than the tenant occupying the existing building in site, you got a question of how you can ask for more drainage in those circumstances.
We have to meet the standards that we have. I mean, you're here for site plan approval and special exception approval. It's not
And
just
they're all subject to the legal nexus that I explained before. So.
And council has also clarified that we have the right and the
You're allowed
jurisdiction.
you're allowed to review that drainage to today's standards to see whether or not it's fulfilling its purpose.
Right. Okay, Wayne, ball is in your court now. So this is going to be on in, what, 2 weeks, Matt?
2 weeks, back to the 27th. Yes, where they submitted an extension.
Do we need a extension resolution or anything?
Yeah, it'll be extension of the action deadline.
To August 27th, right?
Correct.
No, yes.
Request, Rain?
Yeah, I received a request from Wayne's office. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll vote on the extension by Dennis, motion by Dennis, second by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. Okay,
Thank you.
Wayne, good luck. We'll see you on the 27th. Claire, Riverly?
20 Riverly. Could you let Paul Pulowski in, Charles? Great. I'm going to share the screen. You're familiar with the site. 2018, there was a site plan review. This is the old, on this one, it's the old diner still showing there. We don't have the latest aerials here, but the building's constructed. It received a CO for the first 2 stories. And then the 3rd story, which was an attic, is being converted to medical use. They went to the Zoning Board of Appeals for some relief to the parking, and that's outlined. I have updated the resolution to reflect that. Now, this is the old resolution, but I've inserted the ZBA variance here. The referrals were only to the town fire marshal because there's no change to the building. In that case, I received those comments yesterday, and they stated by memo, the proposed use of the 3rd floor will require an alteration to the existing fire sprinkler and fire alarm systems. Permits for any alterations to either or both systems will require a permit from this office prior to commencement of any work. Contact this office for specific permit requirements. And all existing emergency lighting units, fixtures, and other life safety devices shall be maintained operational. Additional fixtures shall be required. Additional fire and life safety issues will be addressed during the formal building permit plans. So that was their additional comments. Actually, I was going to, based on that, I didn't have any conditions because of course you've just looked at this as a site plan and you did an excellent job, so no more conditions. But I am going to add compliance to the fire marshal as a general condition under here. Otherwise, it's just the affidavit and 10 successful plans to be submitted for signature. Any questions? I'll show you the site plan again, but it's doesn't reflect
The language was such that when and if a sewer system is completed and up and functioning, they would have the right to then
Go back to
go back to
apartments.
apartments.
Yep,
Yeah.
is an option. Yes, you wrote that right into the, yes, we can write that right in there too. I can do that as a general condition. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll put those both in there. Any other questions? Paul, did you have any questions?
No, I appreciate the effort to date and the going back and forth with this third floor change. We'll be able to meet all the fire department requirements during the building permit process. And again, I appreciate the effort across the board.
Great. Is the board comfortable?
Yeah. Is the board comfortable? So we'll be adopting this, Claire, as
Yes, please, as a conditional approval for site plan.
20 River Lake. So I have Dennis, moved by Dennis, seconded by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 7 in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone, or night. Be well.
Whatever it is.
Okay, all file map, Jackie? You're
Yes.
the all file map maven.
Yes. How are you? If you could please, it's agenda item number 22. It's 181 in your packet if you're looking along. And let me share the screen so that you can see the resolution.
Anyone need to come in?
Yes, if you could please let in, do you want me to stop share so you can do it easier? If you could please let in Blair Gaza, Marla Schwenk, and I believe Blair and Joe Gaza are using the same Zoom account. And there might be a Ken Wright, who's also an owner within the map. I'm not sure if he was able to make it.
Nope. We're good.
Okay. All right, so let me bring up the resolution. Right, so here you go. Here's the resolution. And we did talk about this in general in February, in late February, before the pandemic struck. So if you will recall, this is the parcel highlighted in this aqua blue here to our town. Everything to the north of the high tension lines is to be preserved either through conservation easement or town purchase. This is development parcel 8, which we talked about, and we merged in this flag. Marla Schwenk owns these lots, and then there's an interest with Gaza and Wright along this side. We are looking today to do an amendment. The road used to go all the way up to the top to provide access. Because it is hilly and because, you know, we do find it suitable that these lots up to the north can be suitably accessed by a common driveway design standard in the private road right-of-way. Mr. Gaza has proposed an amendment which will also facilitate a better line of sight along Edge of Woods Road here. And he has been able to acquire these 2 lots, which was a triangle and another out parcel. One was owned by Marla here. And this will allow for, instead of, you know, a lacking line of sight here, this will provide for better line of sight with this curve right here, and will terminate in a cul-de-sac. So the other cul-de-sac used to be here. So given the topographical concerns, this gives access to the majority of the lots, and then we would still be approving similar to common driveway standards, probably a 16 or 18-foot wide driveway to service these lots.
And the driveways will have the same topographical challenges?
They will, but because they won't be as wide, we'll be able to work within the confines of the existing private road, because they're going to be narrower. So rather, they could be 16 rather than 20 feet wide. So it helps alleviate a lot of the cutting into the natural topography.
And the area down where the mouth is there, how is that going to be held and preserved so that?
So he's right now proposing an offer of dedication. So that way it'll be an easement and an offer if this was ever to be taken into the town highway system.
Okay.
So I believe Blair and Mr. Gaza and also Marla are here. He could probably explain it more. because this was his vision, but you'll see that all of the lots are now cleaned up. We authorized the resolution in February to fill up the missing lots. If you recall, there was a few missing lots that didn't have rights on them that we did in February. So he's really trying to amend this for a shorter road. I don't foresee any planning issues with this. You know, the road used to have an intersection right here and then terminate to the north. It's very in keeping with the previous, and no development has taken place yet within this map. So if Joe is here, he might be able to add to that.
May I speak?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Blair, yes.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Oh, Blair and I are before you. This will be my second Zoom. Good afternoon, board members and Jackie. I refer to this map as the Marla Schwenk map. You may be familiar with this. We've been working on this since 2005. It's been, I think, the longest running old filed map review that the board has ever undertaken. A lot of changes have been made, mostly because we've eliminated a very difficult, I won't call him a partner, but a co-owner within the map. That was Ed Brody, and he sold his lots to Ken Wright. And now Mr. Wright, Marla Schwenk, and I are getting along fine, and we're putting this whole map to sleep. And we were so hopeful that there would not be a necessity for another public hearing and advertisement and going through all the processes again, because there have been 2 public hearings already. One when we started back in 2006, and then one again in 2017. And there are no changes in the lots of the map, the size, the shape. The only change is that we're shortening the road. Originally, it was supposed to go cul-de-sac, as Jackie showed you, way up at the north end by the power line. And now we're bringing it down to only about 450 feet north of the Edge of Woods Road. It was originally set for about 900 feet. So we're cutting the road in half. We're putting private driveways in to serve the 3 lots to the north. And we're just shifting the entrance of the road where it intersects Edge of Woods about 60 feet to the east per recommendation of our town engineer. So it's really not a change in the map, it's just a change in the road. And we were hoping we could get this completed and not have to go through this process a third time, public hearing, advertisement. Marla Schwenk may like to speak because she was very anxious to get this finished before her, I won't say what birthday, but maybe Marla will comment on that. Marla, would you like to address the board?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, I concur with everything that Joe said. As he said, we've been working on this since 2005, 15 years. And we've done many, many revisions. We've done everything that the board has asked us to do. We've had the map revised by Squires and Holden 22 times. And we're hoping that we can get this wrapped up today. I'm approaching 78 years old and I'd like to get this done. So thank you for everything. We've tried to be cooperative in everything that we've done with everyone. I think we've succeeded. And so we're looking forward to having this finalized today. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla.
Thank you, Marla.
Yes.
What is our action here?
So today was to set a hearing for September 10th. And I do appreciate that this has taken a very long time. I started taking this over in 2017. I did want to correct Joe. There was no hearing in 2017. We had reviewed it in the summer and we brought it to the board just for a regular afternoon session. In looking back at the historic file before I took it over, there was a public hearing in 2007. And then there looked like there was possible notice for a 2013 hearing, but I couldn't find the formal public notice. So I'm just concerned because there's been no shovels in the ground, that there are neighbors that may not be aware that this map is, going to be developed in such a manner. And I wanted to make sure that, this is noticed, properly, and, looking to approve this very soon after the public hearing. Like I said, we'll do customary referrals, but I don't foresee any planning issues, but I do want to notify the general public since I don't show any recent public hearings in the file.
Okay, so
just to reiterate, Madam Chair, I do appreciate how long this has taken, but my recommendation would also be that you have another public hearing since the last one was 13 years ago. And I think you did hear Joe say, a substantial amount of the delay has not been on the town's part. It has been working with other owners within that map. So while I do appreciate how hard both Joe and Marla have worked to try and get this done, my recommendation to this board would be to have one last hearing.
So September 10th, we're looking for, Jackie?
Yes.
September 10th. Okay.
Yeah, so the resolution here is prepared, and I'm proposing a public hearing for the next hearing, which is available September 10th.
Okay. Still before your next birthday, Marla.
Well, the approval is not going to make it by my birthday.
So can I have a motion to schedule?
One question. Is that a public hearing and then a 30-day commentary after that?
Well, with the new COVID hearings, it's 30 days, right?
It's within the board's discretion for the comment period of the public hearing. Because of the virtual nature of our meetings, they've been holding a 30-day comment period, but at the hearing, you could request a shorter comment period.
Okay, so the hearing will be on September 10th. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And
then it could be 30 days after that, or whatever. It won't be until October then, until this comes before the board. Is that correct?
The comment period is at the discretion of the board. So it could be 10, it could be 14, it could be 30, depending on any comments received.
So we can alter that, Kathleen, we can alter that 30-day.
All right, I want to tell you my birthday is September 19th. My birthday is September 19th.
Is the 30-day mandatory by the governor, or can we alter that?
You may alter that, Madam Chair.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to have a motion to set the hearing, public hearing for September 10th. Motion by Phil, second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. I don't see Blaney in his chair, so it's 6 in favor, 1 absent. Thanks very much.
Thank you for consideration.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Happy birthday early.
Yeah. Present, Martha.
Okay, the next 3 applications are for overclearing, and we asked to speak with the builders as to give us some explanation as to why. So we're looking at item 23, 24, 25, all
Correct.
Mill Creek lots 2, 7, and 8.
Yes, so the developer should be there, and representative of the would be Stephen Eckelback and Mark Eckelback, and I believe there's also a Dean Golden, who's the project site manager.
I see Dean Golden.
No picture, no sound.
If they could be let in, Charles, if you see them.
Give Charles the name again.
Mark Eckelback, Stephen Eckelback, they're both brothers, and then Dean Golden is also the on-site project manager. I see Dean.
Yeah.
And they were, okay.
Dean was the first one here today.
Good job, Dean.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great.
Is your video working?
I don't see me, I see you.
You should have a little camera somewhere on your computer.
Yeah, it looks like
The lower left on the bottom.
It says, it's share the screen.
it looks like a little like video recorder.
Video camera.
I don't think he's on stop video for some reason. I don't know, maybe his camera isn't working.
Well, no, that's.
Because usually when you stop video, it looks like this.
There we go.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Oh, maybe Dean, you don't have a camera on your.
There he is.
I do have a camera, but I remember the last time I tried to use Zoom, I would freeze like this.
Well, you're there. We can take the freeze.
Yeah, it's a good freeze. So I'm
Yeah. You're not doing anything embarrassing, so.
And the others, Charles?
Yeah. Stephen Eccleback. I emailed him today. He was planning on attending, and I believe his brother Mark.
He's reaching out to me like I'm some tech wizard. He just texted me to say I can't get on.
Oh, he might have to let him in. Charles.
He's not in.
Oh, he's not in?
Not here.
Not in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Not in the room.
I do not know why he thinks I'm the technical wizard. I assure you I'm not.
Frozen.
Can we start a little bit?
Dean, can you ask him if he was available to find the link? Because that should.
Oh, he said he can't get on. He said he found the link a while back. I guided him to it. I presume you found the leak. I presume you found the link.
Yeah, if he was trying to get on, I would see him.
Right.
Oh, no, Dean, we lost you.
No.
Do you have a picture of me even?
We have his audio.
Steven.
Oh, we can hear you, Dean.
There he is.
Steven.
Yeah, we have Stephen.
Okay. All right. So, Stephen, you just have to unmute yourself and video if you're able.
There you go.
There he is.
All right. I didn't actually do anything, and all of a sudden I showed up. So
There you are.
there we go.
Jackie, just an overview?
Sure. So I'll share the screen. Let me get to the packet. So these are 3 parcels that are under construction. This is the subdivision of Mill Creek Heights, also known as Sag Harbor Woods. So the parcels that are in question and almost ready for CFOs is this parcel here, as well as these 2 parcels across the street. Okay, so with this one, we have revegetation plans that have been approved, and the board asked me to do a site visit, which I did conduct on Friday with Dean present. And so this is the, just so you know, this is the southern lot on the south side of Mill Creek. It's actually like on the southwest side of Sag Harbor Court. This is, and then these are the photos that I took. So this is actually standing on that property, looking across towards lot 7. Sorry, 7's over here and 8. So you can see that they have retained some of the mature trees on site as much as possible. And then the revegetation has been done in the front in accordance with the plan. These are other 2 trees that were saved that were right next to the driveway on that same lot. This is a view of lot 7, which I believe is it 4 Sag Harbor Court? And as you can see as well, they're working on the revegetation. I did ask for some augmentation and leaf litter to be added, as well as a couple other trees and areas, but substantially it was planted in accordance with the plan. But I just wanted to show you that they did retain these trees on lot 7. And then this is again on lot 7. And then this is a view looking at lot 7's buffer and a view from lot 8. Now, lot 8 is the lot that is closest to Noyak Road on the east side. So you can see the revegetation was done here as well. These trees were retained closer to the house as well. And this also, I did not get a chance to have plans for the undeveloped lots because, you know, the timing of that is at the discretion of the developer. But I did take a few photos of the vegetation around the cul-de-sac for the lots that have not been cleared yet. So you can see that there are some substantial trees. During the site visit, I did ask if on the future surveys, if they could please note where the trees are of larger caliper. And I think we would ask for like 12-inch or greater to make sure, you know, they consider. But in discussing with the applicants, they definitely are sympathetic to the intent. And I'll let them speak to the rest. And if the board has any questions, you know, please let me know, and I can move through the documentation as necessary.
Yeah, I was on my way to Sag Harbor yesterday, and I noticed that split rail fences were put in fronting on Noyak Road.
Yes, that was a requirement of the subdivision approval to delineate the open space.
Okay, yeah, I was dealing with a lot of traffic, so I didn't get a chance to look that closely.
Yeah, so when I was there, they were installing this, which is important because this is a thin area that we asked for a trail connection further to the south. So we want to make sure that there's no additional encroachment along this area. And also, I did notice that there were some areas in here, we just asked for a small revegetation. I think it was on this lot in the rear, behind the pool.
So Stephen and Dean, our concern and why we asked you to be here is the overclearing. It's a large subdivision, and we're trying to avoid every lot coming in that's been overcleared. So if you can talk to us and give us some explanation as to why, or how we can prevent something like this happening in the future.
Sure. This is Steve here. So yeah, well, we acquired this subdivision from a previous developer who had come through and had gotten the subdivision approval and had gotten the roads approved and everything. So what we realized as we started building is that in order to construct the road, the slopes had to be cut back along the fronts of each of the lots in order to have the proper slopes. So if you notice that where most of the revegetation had to occur, was in places that we had no choice to be able to retain any of the existing understory or trees, because in order for the road to be properly constructed, we had to cut the grades back, and of course we lose everything. So the first 4 lots, the 2 on the left that you see in that picture there, which is lots 7 and 8, have the most significant cut, and the undeveloped lot, which is the first lot on the right that Jackie's showing there now, has also been affected. So, I mean, that's going to be presumably the next one that's going to come up, because there was no way in order to meet the clearing requirements and not construct the road. So I don't know how the original plan was presented, but it was never possible to do that. So I think we've addressed and have dealt with the worst conditions of the site in order to try to maintain a lot of the existing foliage. The other thing, as you can see, is that on the first lot on the right, that's where the old motel was. So that was significantly cleared already. And on the lots on the left, particularly the second lot in, that there was a house on that lot. And so you can see that was sufficient. That was virtually over cleared as well. So if you take the back area that was cleared and existing and the front area, there was no way in order to build a house on this lot that we could have met and not, over cleared the percentage that was required. But that notwithstanding, like Jackie mentioned, we made every effort. I mean, we recognize that mature trees, you can't buy, a 50-foot, 60-foot tall trees. So we really went through great effort to try to preserve what we could, considering the fact that we had to put dry wells along the road into the right of way, do the cutbacks that we needed to do. So in as much as we really wanted to, keep the growth and not be in the situation where we're looking for this permission, but we really, in this case, was kind of unavoidable. That being the case, I know obviously these lots are now developed and we've made our efforts, and we work with Jackie and we've sourced the materials, and I think we've done what we hope to be a really nice job, to make it look both presentable and also meet the intent of the vegetation. Is that the back lots are, I would say, in better condition as far as what's available, and we have to obviously go through and identify which trees we can still maintain and still obviously construct the pool and the improvements and stuff that'll make these houses saleable. So yeah, we were kind of stuck, and we tried, like I said, make our best efforts. We appreciate and understand fully what the intent of the guidelines are. So like I said, the best we can do is now going forward with more mature woods and kind of better undergrowth. We could work and try to do a little bit better, siting of the houses and try to preserve as much as we can. I would also add that, particularly on lot 8, which is the first one on the left, that the natural vegetation was all invasive vines, multiflora rose, barberries. I mean, it was just really nasty stuff. So, we cleared, and then we recognized that the boundary is still not anything that anybody would want, not native, not anything that you would plant or would be on a list that you would want to retain. So, as you cut back a vine, then all of a sudden you recognize the tree that it's on is dead. And, it just kind of got to a point where when we went and then stopped, but, the boundary there is still quite a mess. But, be as it may, that was what was there, and we tried to honor that as well. But so the first 4 lots, I think, are the toughest. I think the ones going forward will have a little bit easier time trying to make them presentable.
So you're going to identify substantial trees. Jackie, we want them to do that.
I asked them to do that on the coming development parcels. So those would be the 4 in the back and the one up here, right here.
I think it's more important though on those rear. Do you have the aerial, Jackie?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, on those cul-de-sac lots, you see directly behind there is the open space. And I think it's going to be more beneficial to try to keep undisturbed area adjacent to that open space. And whether that involves a project limiting fence during construction.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, that's also defined, and that's actually in place, is the split rail fence is back there. So that yellow line that you see there, that's already demarked.
Is that part of the lot, or is that the edge of the?
No, this is the boundary where we requested the split rail fence to delineate private from public land.
Right, I'm talking about on the private land, if one of those temporary construction fences.
In the rear yard.
Yeah, in the rear, so we don't get the clearing going right up to the open space. It's going to be a lot more beneficial to keep that area undisturbed in the back of the lot,
Yeah, well, like I said, we haven't really looked at it that closely. I mean, we need to squeeze the house on. We need to have the driveways come in. We need to identify the trees. I mean, the mature trees is really my goal, is to try to preserve as best possible. So, yeah, I mean, we'll try to maintain it. I think the view is beautiful out the road, so we'll probably want to have the house probably a little bit closer to the road, and then maintain the space behind it as well.
Yeah.
But they're a work in progress, and we understand what you're suggesting.
It also buffers the houses from the open space, so it's a value to the new houses.
Sure. The intent of the APOD is a limitation on fertilized vegetation, because the aquifer is underneath. So oftentimes, if there's too much focus on the trees, you get these mature trees and then chemlawn, spread underneath it. I think that the focus really is to maintain the integrity of the understory and the native forest that's there, less so than the actual trees.
Yeah, unfortunately there's very little understory in there. It's all just tall trees. The deer kind of browse through anything that's valuable. There's some barberry there, which is also an invasive species that is probably the only thing that's really in the understory. Otherwise, it's just broken limbs and leaf litter.
So is it my understanding that the putting in the road caused the undercutting on the sides?
Yes.
So you had to
Yeah.
take out. So was the road in when you took the project over or not?
No, we had to build the road. I mean, I don't know, the original lots, they showed that as undisturbed areas, which I don't know, like I said, I don't know how that, it was never possible to do that. To build the road, you had to cut the slope. So there was no way that that was going to be preserved.
So the site plan probably needed adjusting? What's, I'm trying to figure out how to avoid this in the future.
That would have had to been addressed on the road and drainage plans approved by the town engineer. If they thought an additional cut was needed into the lots. So I don't think it was anticipated, but once in the field, I think what Stephen's saying is to meet the grade of the road and to have, you know, stabilized shoulders, they had to cut maybe further into the front of these lots is I think what he's explaining.
Yeah, exactly. And additionally, there was actually the old driveway that went to the house was also a cleared area.
There was one on each side.
Yeah, there was one that where your mark is now, and then also on the other side, there was a driveway that was cut in, and that was also cleared.
That should have been picked up when we did the map. So
Yeah, I mean, this driveway was mostly revegetated. We asked for revegetation up here.
Yeah.
And then there was also disturbance from this house. So we did ask for revegetation here, as well as the encroachments from the neighboring commercial operation. So they have a revegetation plan, which shows revegetation of the open space here, open space there, and open space here.
And then, of course, we're redoing and revegetating the areas in the front, that parcel, which we subsequently donated back to the town.
Yes.
That little triangular portion there. So that
this was going to be a subdivision announcement sign, and they are now deeding this back to the town, and we have a revegetation plan, which we approved earlier this summer, which is going to be installed. And this will be added as open space in the future.
So going forward, we're asking for the split rail fence before the open space in the rear. We're asking for the rear of the properties of those 3 lots to try to maintain as much vegetation facing the open space parcel. Right, Dennis? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, I think a temporary construction project limiting fence to delineate, because, you know, you turn your back out in these construction sites and the operator is, next thing you know, he's driving his machine into, you know.
They drive over the yellow plastic.
Yeah, those temporary fences, you put them on, you know, they're orange, they're mesh fences. And,
yep, I'm familiar.
You know.
So we are really concerned, particularly about this area. You're near a water body over the aquifer. It's a very sensitive area, so, and it is a PUD, right? Yes.
I totally appreciate it, and like I said, you know, we try to make our best efforts, but we were kind of handed a tough deck of cards here to start with. But I mean, I think that these remaining lots will be a little bit easier to work with in that regard.
Hopefully, we won't see them for revegetation. Are there any other questions, Mr. Eckelbeck?
No, we've been working with Jackie. She's been terrific and has given us some guidance. So I think it's just kind of subject to having a reinspection for some of the additional work that, you know, she had requested and that we've since installed. So I think we should be in good shape.
Okay, we'll be watching. Thank you.
Sure.
We appreciate your
we appreciate your watching.
We're not as accommodating on the second go around.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and we're, you know, fortunately we're in a pretty good market right now, so we're anxious obviously to get our COs. The houses are finished, so you know we want to move this along and move on and build the next homes.
Everything's selling right now.
Yeah, no, we're fortunate. When we started this project, of course, there was no way we anticipated, you know, this situation, but sometimes things work in your favor.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jackie.
Thank you.
Ready.
So I do need 3 separate motions on lot 2, lot 7, and lot 8.
Okay, so a motion for Mill Creek Heights lot number 2 to approve the re-veg plan. Motion by Dennis, second by Zuccarelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Mill Creek Heights lot number 7, approval of the re-veg plan. Motion by Gloria, second by Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Mill Creek Heights lot number 8, approve the re-veg plan. Motion by Phil, second by Zuccarelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. So we've done that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I think we can finish our agenda and take a break before 6 o'clock, but there's a really packed agenda. So
It's 5, so.
yeah, we have an hour.
I
So
actually have to step out. I got to pick up a vehicle. But
yeah, okay. Dennis, you going?
Yeah.
You go? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see
I got to pick
him
up
tonight at 6. We'll see him tonight. Number 112 Middle Line Highway, Matthew,
Yes,
the re-veg plan.
absolutely. Pull up on the screen for you guys.
You're gonna come and got a cup of coffee. I'm right around the corner, Matt.
Didn't know that. I should have stopped. This is approval for, re-veg plan. This came in the traditional way. They were looking to do, a little improvement on their property. They were found to be overcleared. It's a 45,000 square foot parcel, flag lot. So as you know, the flag is exempt from their clearing. Fairly standard plan. They're at 61% now. They're allowed 50%. There are some encroachments that they're going to correct here, as well as over here. Other than that, we're looking for an approval with your, normal conditions on this. I did add the first condition to rectify all those encroachments. And then, and it's subject to an inspection and submission of surveys showing that they're in compliance.
Good. Okay, any questions, discussion? A motion to approve the re-veg plan for 112 Middle Line Highway. Motion by Gloria, second by, I can't see the screen.
Oh, sorry, Jackie.
Second by Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? So 112 Middle Line Highway, 7 in favor.
6.
6 in favor, 1 absent. 26 Carroll Street, another re-veg approval.
Similar story. This is a, much smaller property, 22,000 square feet out in Sag Harbor at 26 Carroll Street. They are substantially overcleared. They're at, I think, upwards of 90%.
They're 90%?
They're at
95.2.
Yeah, they're at 95.2. They're allowed 75%, so it's a little bit of a different story. You're allowed on a smaller property, you're allowed more clearing, but they're pulling in the line pretty tight around the pool. Same thing came into, via the building division. They're doing improvements over here. They did provide a schedule of what they're going to plant. I believe we're getting something like 18 trees within the back area of the property. I know there's a typo in here, but this has already been corrected to reflect that there's 2 separate revegetation areas, one in the front, one in the back. So, business as usual with this. This will bring them up to the permitted clearing of 60%, subject to the submission of a survey and an inspection for compliance.
Good. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Can I have a motion to accept this re-veg plan?
Motion.
Motion by Robin, second by Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so 6 in favor, 1 absent. Moving on to 28 Stony Hill Road. Jackie, that's you. It's a site disturbance application.
Yes. Let me share the screen so the board can familiarize yourselves. Just give me a second. So this is the resolution. So they are a 15,001 square foot property. So they also have to comply with 60%. The parcel is here. This is actually on Stony Hill Road, which is the continuation where Brick Kiln Road and Noyak Road connect. So this is essentially like what most people think of as Noyak Road. And then I do apologize, the aerial. If you'd like me to switch though, I can show you the aerial just so I have it prepared. Just to give you an idea. So this is the parcel. So this is essentially what most people think of as Noyak Road. It continues up to Long Beach to the north. This is Wickatuck. This is open space here. There was a little encroachment of historic. The person just purchased the property, I believe in 2018 or 19. So they did install a pool. It is a very dramatic grade change from Noyak Road all the way up to here. So this pretty much goes straight up a hill. They added a pool very close to the house, an existing patio. It's essentially right here, which you can see on the survey, which I have here.
So the cleared areas are?
So the cleared area is now here. They had to put in a retaining wall, so they have revegetated here and then along the side here, and then also did a really good job revegetating right here where it was previous historic disturbance. So this will bring the property into compliance, and I am recommending approval. They actually installed everything, and I was out there also on Friday. This is right around the corner from Mill Creek Heights.
Okay, any questions? I have a motion for approval for the site disturbance re-veg. Motion by Phil, second by Robin, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
And vintage vines.
Vintage vines, one more site disturbance. Lot
Yes,
27.
yes, yes.
Is this the end of it, Jackie?
I really believe this is the last one.
I hope you don't have to eat your words.
I hope so too. I hope so too. But I mean, it wouldn't be for me to eat. It would be for them. But let me see. I'm pretty sure this is the last one, unless there's something else unforeseen that happens. This is lot 27. So let me just show you in full screen mode. So this is 27. They are also subject to 50% right now. When they broke ground, they were around 70%. And here you can see they actually really did try. This was also a hill that they had to cut into for the basement and the sanitary system. But you can see they did really try to keep all of this native vegetation. So we have a revegetation survey that has restored all of this. And I inspected the property as well. This goes up grade as well. So they did revegetation here. I actually asked for 3 more trees in this area. But otherwise, you know, this is very accurate, and the revegetation avoids the pool equipment. And I just received photos today that the trees that I requested were installed with leaf litter. So when I was there on Friday, the leaf litter was not down yet. And the leaf litter really makes a big difference because it keeps the invasive species out. And those opportunistic species that makes it weedy and will then choke out the native understory that they planted. And then I have to admit, like here, there are some very nice existing mountain laurel, very old, kind of established. Some are kind of even like leaning over that that did not get disturbed in those areas. So I am recommending approval. And the resolution is prepared. I left this open because I knew I was getting a new survey. So I'll just add that in. Based upon the email I received this week.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the vintage vine lot 27 revenge plan. Motion by someone.
Second.
Second by Zuccarelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Homeland Towers, next is seeker. A visual assessment, Claire.
Yes, I see. Yep, and I see Robert Gaudios is here. So I'm going to share the screen. Robert, do you want to explain where we're at this point?
Sure. So thank you again, Robert Gaudios. So if you recall at the last meeting, there were requests by the board for a couple things. One, based on a prior request that we changed the design of the tower to the unipole. So we did do that, and we showed the actual elevation drawings with the unipole. We showed the setbacks. We submitted a structural engineering letter confirming that the tower would be designed that in the unlikely occurrence that it should collapse, it would stay within the property. In addition, the board had asked us to look at some additional viewpoints based on Claire's recommendation along Deerfield Road and along Montauk Highway. So we did two things. One, we submitted this additional viewshed analysis, and I believe we have Matt Allen, who should be on the line. He prepared it from Saratoga Associates, and he also revised the original viewshed analysis with all the visual renderings and all the statistics. But basically what we show here is on Deerfield Road. It's a very short area where there's potential visibility. It's about 700 feet. Based on the posted highway speed of 30 miles an hour, and we know that cars go by much quicker, but that the view would be about 6 to 10 seconds. We also know from investigating it and from these photographs that there's never a straight on view. So for example, the homes on the other side of Deerfield Road are approximately 670 feet away. We have a setback that's required of 300 feet, so we're more than double that. But none of the views on Deerfield Road are directly at this. They're actually at a 90 or a 45-degree angle in a car going by at it should be 30 miles an hour. We know it's much more than that. What we did do is we found the spots through the hedgerow, and we documented that the hedgerow in that area and the distance across the fields and the railroad tracks, that there are a few isolated photographs which we were able to find through the hedgerow and through the trees where you could actually see the tower. And in Mr. Allen's report, he shows that those few viewpoints are few and far between. They're very isolated, given the design that we changed based on the board's preference to the unipole, by being able to paint it with the slender design. It's not a significant adverse impact. We did the same thing with respect to Montauk Highway. Again, we're on a HB commercial property. There are other utility poles, commercial uses. We're next to the sanitation yard. The facility is set back 500 feet from Montauk Highway. Again, as you can see, we call it the breadcrumb map, where the few limited isolated views between the buildings, through the commercial uses, up against the railroad tracks, that the significance of the tower, particularly given the mitigation measure as a gray monopole, unipole design, all antennas within it, that the visibility is quite limited and certainly not of a significant impact. So based on that, based on the viewshed analysis, again, we showed that that over a whole 2 mile radius study area, only 14.7% of that area would have a view of the tower. And out of that 14.7% area, 92% of that is actually undeveloped area. So we're not having a significant impact on viewers of the potential facility. Again, we have Mr. Allen on the phone, who did do the report. As you can see, there are numerous utility poles in the foreground, numerous other constructions. As I said, there were all commercial uses in this area. There's a sanitation yard next to us, commercial use on the property, commercial use next door that I believe is for rent at this point. And we did document that. And I think that the design change requested by the board to the slender unipole with this gray color really did make a big difference. And we're happy to be able to offer that as an alternative.
Yeah, just Robert, Charles, can you see if Mr. Allen is available to come on?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. I don't know if the board had any reaction or any questions for Mr. Gaudioso. Did you want me to show any other views? I think this is all, I think that's all.
So those were the isolated views. So those are really the worst case scenario. What we did also is we had the full report with the viewshed maps, with all of the analysis, all of the overlay zones and everything of that in the other report. This was really focused on those distinct locations immediately adjacent on Montauk Highway, and as I said, well over 660 feet away on Deerfield Road. Again, through that hedgerow, that is quite significant.
Do you have the aerial, Claire?
I do. Hold on a second. I will go back to my other PDF. There we go.
Well, here are the cars.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the third use on the property right now, and then the cell tower would be the fourth use.
And my
So what's
understanding,
happening with the cars?
Yeah, it's my understanding that Mr. Bruin, on behalf of the property owner, is making an application for that use. I don't know.
We haven't seen anything yet, so.
I don't know if the time. Yeah, I understand that they prepared a site plan. He had some comments to it, and they're working on it. But they do intend to file that, and we'll either have to seek that similar accessory use determination or whatever necessary variance we need.
Okay.
That'll make me so happy.
Right. Are those just, is that just, are these used cars or new car inventory?
No, it's mine. The last time I was back there, which was last week, they appear to be new cars that are just being stored there off-site. I'm not sure of exactly what the reason is.
Well, that would have to be a ZBA determination.
That's right.
3 uses on one.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. We brought that up as an issue in the pre-submission report. So
yeah, we understand. As you can see to the north, this is the sanitation yard. These buildings on the north side, or the top, I should say, on the top side of this.
Yeah.
It's really not the north side; it's the east side. But on the top side of the photo, you know, those are quite tall. That is a sanitation yard. It's heavily, you know, utilized in that regard. That's what we're next to. We're next to the LIRR lines and railroad track. I know last time there was a comment, what's that other tower? And it was actually a large utility pole, I believe, for the LIRR in the foreground. So I do think that given that new design that you asked us to produce, that it does blend in much better.
Matthew Allen's here. I don't know if the board has any questions for him, or do you think you understand now what they're proposing? I just think that this presents a clearer picture of what's going on from, you know, Deerfield, which is a residential street, and then Montauk Highway, which obviously on the other side is a farm field. So, you know, this is not just an ugly buildings. There's some views that we want to protect, and, you know.
Right.
So, yeah, does the board have any questions?
No.
Thank you. You've done a fairly exhaustive visual analysis, which is what we really asked for.
Right.
But let's keep in mind that other use, Claire, you know.
Okay, so I'm gonna we'll give them some. I'll give him some guidance on that.
So Claire, he's going to be an accessory this time to what business?
Well, if he submits now, the other use, it needs a violation. And, you know,
I'm not talking about the cars.
Yeah, the cars. Right now, there's 2 uses permitted on the property. He would be the 3rd one if he has a complete. He has an application in. He's the 3rd one. The other one would be the 4th one. It would be his lift to get that. So, so if he could go forward, he would be the 3rd use on the property.
So if he tried to be an accessory, what would he be an accessory to?
That's a great question.
No, but I mean,
so he should get interpretation from the chief building inspector, whether he's principal or accessory, in writing at this point. We'd recommend that.
Yeah, we can certainly seek that. There is a contractor use on the property. I don't know if it's contractor irrigation. I forget the exact aspect of it. I don't think it's any more of a quote unquote stretch than the mining operation.
Oh, well, that's what my problem is. So
yeah,
you know, I'm not going to let go of this one.
No, look, I understand. I think the prior attorney, you know, I think she made a point that, you know, I'll agree with to some extent, is that you have a very comprehensive code regarding wireless facilities. And usually when towns have a comprehensive code where you have design criteria, you have setback criteria, locations, you have everything a code could possibly have, but then there's an underlying provision that is a limitation on the number of uses. And usually when there's a comprehensive code, they usually stick in literally a sentence that say, you know, that this is permitted as an accessory use, and the Southampton code just doesn't have that. And I don't know if that was an oversight or on purpose, but the way I would argue it is that it's highly unusual to find a commercial property that's not being thoroughly used. And it's almost, in this case, to the benefit of this property, that we're able to find a property 500 feet back from Montauk Highway. That's adjacent to the train line. I understand there's beautiful fields behind us, and the residential area, again, we're double the setback. We're more than double the setback away. So we'll certainly pursue whatever we have to pursue with the building inspector, and if not, with the zoning board. But I think for purposes of your review now, the most important thing is the thing you've been looking at, and that's the seeker analysis. And that's what we didn't come back in July because we really did want to take our time and do this right and comprehensively review these locations that were requested and comprehensively redesign the facility. So we hear you. We understand, Ms. Long, your queasiness with this accessory argument. I don't disagree with you on that, but we'll do what we have to do under the code to make sure we chase down whatever approvals we need.
And I think we ought to also take a look at what you just, the missing link there, because we
The
need.
missing language in the comprehensive.
Yeah, I mean, that would serve that would resolve the problem,
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
So I just want to clarify, so you're comfortable with the visual analysis?
Yes.
There are some waivers on setbacks from property lines and the property lines, but they're not from residences at this time or anything like that. So are you comfortable with those setbacks waivers? I'm sorry, Robert, off the top of my head, I don't.
Yeah, so they're basically just they're the property line setbacks. We meet the setbacks to other towers by a wide margin. We meet the setback to residential zones, which is 300% the height of the tower, which would be 300 feet. We have 670 feet. The waivers we put on, we revised the plan to show them on the bulk table. They're basically to the side and rear property line, and they're delineated as far as the distance. But what we did is we submitted a structural engineering report that shows the tower would have a stress point 75 feet up. So the closest distance to the closest property line is 25 feet. The fall zone of the tower would be that distance or less. So we've been able to accomplish that through an engineering certification. And again, our goal was to set back as far as we could from Montauk Highway because we think it makes good planning sense. Now that does create a need for a waiver from the setback, but we've structurally engineered around that from a safety standpoint.
We have that language, the structural language,
Yes.
that 75 feet the tower could.
Yes, we
break in
submitted.
two.
Yes.
How far are you from the building that's on the site?
I would have to scale that, but it's quite a distance because it's further to the right on the screen that you're looking at. I'd have to pull out but we have no problem with that. Well more than the distance to the property line, that's for sure.
So if this tower was to fall, it would just crush the cars, that's all.
Well, those cars may not be there, so we'll have to wait and see about that.
Well, yeah, I don't think they would crush the cars either because they have that fenced in area, right?
Exactly. It'll be fenced in, it'll be landscaped, there'll be a buffer there. We've shown that on the site plan. We really worked hard on that design element.
Okay. I think those are the major issues. If the board agrees, I'll update the part 2 and we'll do SECRA at the next meeting. And then in the meantime, maybe we can get the interpretation from the chief building inspector. And as I said, if he's not the one who's got the problem, it's the next person. Because if they say it's principal, that's 3 principal uses and they're permitted that. So, but we'll go from what we can get the chief building inspector's interpretation for, okay?
Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay,
very
great.
much. Have a
Thanks
nice
so
day.
much.
Bye-bye.
No action on this, okay?
Very good. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much.
So our last item is to acknowledge the signature of Wave Song 2 and 3.
Yes, Jackie, this is a lot line modification on Ocean Road. Claire, if you stop your share, I want to.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Give you guys a reminder where it is. It's 917 and 929 Ocean Road, vacant piece in the back. This is unrestricted farmland. It's just about this portion that's being transferred to the front property, make it more conforming. I picked up the plans from Phil this week. We're good to go if everyone's good to go.
Good, yeah. Okay, so we acknowledge that signature.
And then Jackie and Phil, we spoke to you about the Noyak Golf Club. We signed that.
All right, so 32.
It's going to be an add-on. Yep.
All right, the Noyak Golf Club signature.
Yep, all in order. Thank you.
Okay, so we have 2 agenda items for tonight, and just in a little while, it's 5:20 now. Is it 5:26? Almost 5:30. So will everybody be here tonight? We don't have to drive home.
No, but my dogs are getting very hungry. I gotta.
Okay, so am I. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
By Robin.
Second.
Second by Gloria. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, extensions. Thank you very much. See you tonight at 6.